Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Naruto. I, Minato Namikaze, dominate the ninja world. Chapter 41. Minato was stunned when he heard what Sarutobi Hiruzen said, and then he said in a deep voice. My full strength. Shimura Danzo should be very clear about my strength. Didn't he tell you? Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head solemnly and said. Danzo did tell us the information about your battle with the one-tailed Shukaku. Sarutobi Hiruzen wanted to say something else but was interrupted by a voice. Okay, Hiruzen, it's useless to say more. Let's work together to deal with Minato first. The one who said this was the one-armed bandaged man of Konoha village, Danzo Shimura, the crouching dragon and phoenix of Konoha village. Danzo walked up to Minato and said in a deep voice. Minato, you have to understand that everything Hiruzen and I do is for Konoha. The people of Konoha village were speechless when they heard this. You are doing this for Konoha. I'm afraid you are not doing it for the power in your hands. Then, Sarutobi Hiruzen saw this with a serious face. This was the famous Golden Flash Namikaze Minato in the ninja world. Kakashi on the side saw this and hurriedly called everyone to leave here, because this place was about to become a battlefield. Except for the Anbu ninjas of Konoha and some civilian ninjas, most of the people present were ordinary people without any power. If they were involved in the battle, they would probably die in an instant. After all, this was a battle between shadow-level strongmen. Even elite Jonin would probably die instantly. In the crowd not far away, Naruto looked at the battlefield anxiously, with a trace of worry in his eyes, but he didn't know whether he was worried about Namikaze Minato or someone else. Turning his head to look at a beautiful girl with a delicate face, the girl looked like she was only 16 or 17 years old, with an onion head and a swaying hair on her head. Her petite body was well proportioned under the JK uniform. She wore a short skirt and her fair and tight legs were wearing knee-high stockings. As if she had noticed the worry in Naruto's eyes, Rukia's sweet and pleasant voice slowly rang out, Don't worry, those two old men are no match for brother Minato. After comforting Naruto, she turned her head and looked at the battlefield. Kakashi, who was not far away, was stunned when he heard this. He didn't understand why this mysterious girl was so confident in her teacher and believed that the teacher could win, but it also made Kakashi's originally nervous mood relax a lot. Obviously Kaka also believed that Minato could win. In the battle with Orochimaru at that time, Kakashi also saw that his teacher suppressed Orochimaru with only chakra. He suppressed the first and second generation Hokage by himself. Although that was a body of the impure world reincarnation, it could only exert 2/10 of its full strength before birth. You must know that the first generation Hokage is the ninja god of the ninja world. Even ordinary elite ninjas can be said to have no chance of winning against him. But the powerful first and second Hokage were suppressed by their teacher with ease, and even their souls were sent to the Pure Land. Minato, see this, okay. In this case, let me send you to the Pure Land to see the Six-Path Sage. Minato said some plain words. The two of them looked gloomy when they heard it. Did Minato really look down on them by saying this? Although they are old, their strength has indeed declined a lot compared to their youth, but they are not people that Minato can insult, but they have long forgotten it. Just now, Minato had already insulted them in front of everyone in Konoha village. The smile on Minato's face was restrained, and he said indifferently. Okay, let's stop talking about the past. As he said that, he saw a stick burned black by flames in Minato Namikaze's hand. Everyone was stunned. What the hell is this? Isn't it just a burning stick? Minato saw the noncommittal look in everyone's eyes. Only one person in the crowd looked at the stick in Minato Namikaze's hand with a serious face. Others didn't know it, but Rukia knew it very well. Isn't it the Zanpakuto of Captain Genryusai Yamamoto, who is known as the strongest Shinigami in the world of Bleach, the 13th Gote in the world of Bleach, and is known as the strongest Shinigami in the past 1,000 years? Is it known as the strongest and oldest pyro-type Zanpakuto in Soul Society? But how did Brother Minato have this Zanpakuto? Could it be that Brother Minato also awakened the Sword Zen and obtained the Zanpakuto? Yes, it must be right. It should be like this. Rukia felt that she had guessed the truth, and couldn't help but show a beautiful smile on her beautiful and delicate little face. Minato, you really look down on us. Shimura Danzo said with a gloomy face. You really deserve to die for fighting us with a burnt stick. Sarutobi Hiruzen also echoed. Minato couldn't help but feel helpless when listening to Shimura Danzo's words. No wonder Danzo could do such funny things in the original work. With his IQ, he couldn't even stab Susanoo. I remember that it became a famous scene that countless Naruto fans complained about in the previous life. Then Minato disappeared in a flash, appeared behind him, swung his sword, and a terrifying slash landed on the place where he was standing. I saw that a deep ditch of dozens of meters was cut out there, and there was a blazing flame on it. Seeing this, Minato murmured softly. I dodged it. It's really good. At this time, the figure of Shimura Danzo also appeared not far away, breathing heavily, with cold sweat on his forehead. If I hadn't used the Sharingan to activate Izanagi just now, I'm afraid I would have died under that terrifying slash. Looking at the gully cut out by Namikaze Minato, I couldn't help asking, what is this? Minato glanced at the embarrassed Shimura Danzo and slowly said, this is my weapon Ryujin Jaka. Danzo's eyes flashed with fear, because if he hadn't had the resurrection coin, he might have died. At this time, Sarutobi Hiruzen, who had been observing, suddenly spoke in a deep voice. Wait a minute, Minato, you didn't use a ninjutsu just now. As far as I know, weapons cannot cause such great destructive power. Such destructive power is comparable to S-level ninjutsu. But Sarutobi Hiruzen was not happy at all, because the Minato now was not the Minato who worshipped him, the Hokage. Minato shook his head and said, I did use a ninjutsu, but I just used the sword to fire it directly without making hand seals. Sarutobi Hiruzen was even more puzzled when he heard this. He had seen Uchiha clan use fire attribute chakra to attach to the sword before to increase the power of the short sword, but it was not as destructive as Minato's. How can we fight against a useful ninjutsu that does not require hand seals and can be fired instantly? Minato looked calm and didn't seem to have consumed much chakra. Hiruzen, don't think too much. It's too late to say anything now. The only way for us now is for you and I to go all out to take down Minato Namikaze. In this way, we both have a chance of survival. Danzo's panting voice came. Minato Namikaze looked at Shimura Danzo with some surprise. Shimura Danzo snorted and quickly made hand seals with both hands. He spit out. Wind escape. Vacuum jade. Quote. Seeing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen at the side also quickly performed the ninjutsu, fire style, fire dragon flame bullet. Quote. I have to admit that these two guys are quite powerful. Minato was embarrassed to kill them. He wanted to see if these two guys could beat two of Obito's Akatsuki members together. If an ordinary cage-level strongman ran into these two guys, it would be a bit tricky. Unfortunately, they ran into this guy with a system. When Shimura Danzo's wind escape and Yuanfei Hiruzen's fire escape were superimposed on each other, the wind fueled the fire. The original more than 10 meters long fire dragon flame bomb instantly became more than twice as large as before, and rushed towards Minato with its fangs and claws. Minato saw this and his face was calm. He raised the flowing blade Ruka in his hand and slashed. A flame blade of more than 30 meters long collided with the fire dragon, making a deafening sound. The shock wave of the collision of ninjutsu spread to the surroundings. Seeing this, the people watching the battle not far away quickly performed defensive ninjutsu. I saw a 4 or 5 meter high earth wall. It rose from the ground, but strangely, there was a dog head hanging on the earth wall. The other elite Jonins also quickly used their own ninjutsu to defend themselves. Seeing this, Rukia covered her skirt with one hand and opened the other hand, the 39 circular gate fan of Binding Dao. As Rukia operated her spiritual pressure, a white circular shield with a diameter of 5 meters blocked Rukia and Naruto. Then everyone saw two people flying backwards in the smoke, doing a backflip in the air to unload the force, slowly landing on the ground and sliding for several meters before stopping. Shimura Danzo was even more miserable and sat down on the ground directly, looking extremely embarrassed. Minato slowly walked out of the smoke holding the flowing blade Wakaka. The two people saw that Minato had no scars on his body and couldn't help but feel depressed. This guy didn't have any injuries at all. Could it be that he was going to use that trick, the Shikigami Fujin, to take Minato away? Then Minato looked at the two and said, "You don't have only this much power. If so, I would be very disappointed. After all, you are the strongest Hokage in history. You said so, right, third Hokage." Quote. Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help but roar at Minato, "Minato, you deserve to die." It was a complete mockery for Minato Namikaze to mention the strongest Hokage again and again. What a bullshit strongest Hokage in history, it's just bragging for the power of Konoha and the convenience of his own rule. But Minato knew that he still kept mentioning this matter, which was to nail himself to the pillar of shame. How could Sarutobi Hiruzen not be angry? At this time, the Konoha civilians who were watching the battle not far away saw this and hurriedly said, "Didn't you see that Shimura Danzo just get burned to ashes by the flames of the fourth Hokage? How come he is resurrected again?" Quote. At this time, Kakashi's voice sounded, "If I guess correctly, it should be the forbidden technique of the Uchiha clan, Izanagi. I once heard Minato teacher tell me, the condition for using Izanagi is to lose one eye as a price, making oneself immune to all damage for a certain period of time." At this time, Yuhi Kurenai came over and said, "Kakashi, is there no way to crack it?" Kakashi shook his head and said, "Teacher only told me this, I don't know anything else, but I just saw that there are several Sharingan on Shimura Danzo's arm. Izanagi can be used several times, but if it was the teacher, it should be fine." After the people of Konoha village knew that Shimura Danzo used the Uchiha clan's Sharingan, they hated him even more. Uchiha Sasuke in the crowd trembled all over when he heard this, hating his own weakness. Obviously, Shimura Danzo used his own Uchiha clan's eyes, but he couldn't avenge them. Seeing Sasuke like this, Kakashi sighed and said, "Sasuke, did you hear what I just said?" Sasuke in the crowd slowly raised his head, and because of the stimulation of Kakashi's words just now, he directly opened his 3 Magatama Sharingan. Sasuke was very puzzled, so he asked his teacher Kakashi, "What is this Izanagi?" "So Sasuke, you have a very strong potential in the Uchiha clan. As long as you work hard to develop your potential in Sharingan, I believe that with your potential, you may not be able to reach the height of Uchiha Madara, the Shira of the ninja world. So Sasuke, you should master the power you should master, and should not pursue other powers," Kakashi explained lightly. "And you should have heard what I said just now, right?" At this time, Sasuke looked at Kakashi in confusion. Seeing this, Kakashi put his hand on his forehead, sighed, and said seriously, "Izanagi is a forbidden technique of your Uchiha clan." Sasuke's body trembled slightly when he heard this. The time for the ninjutsu to be performed is determined by the amount of chakra of the user. It converts the damage suffered by the user from real to illusory, and turns everything that is beneficial to oneself into a real technique. But the price of using it is to lose life forever. This is a very good way to save life. The Konoha civilians who were closer to Kakashi played the role of cheerleaders again. "Did you hear it just now? What did Lord Kakashi say just now? Shish, there is also this kind of pupil technique that is really terrible," some Konoha civilians said hurriedly. "It's a pity that the price paid is too high, that's right. Otherwise, wouldn't the Uchiha clan be invincible?" Another Konoha civilian also echoed. This also explains why the third Hokage and the Konoha elders wanted to exterminate the Uchiha clan. The reason is that the Uchiha clan is too strong. Imagine if every Uchiha clan ninja opens the 3 Magatama Sharingan and fights you. At the critical moment, they give you an Izanagi and ask if you are afraid. I heard that the founder of this eye technique seems to be called Uchiha Zili. At this time, someone said this name. I heard from the older generation of ninjas that after the battle between Uchiha Madara and the first generation Hokage Senju Hashirama, he left the village. The Uchiha clan was leaderless at that time. It seems that this female ninja named Uchiha Zili directly used her strength to overwhelm everyone. It is rumored that she also opened the same eyes as Uchiha Madara. I heard from the older generation that she is less than 20 years old. Hey, what do you know? It is said that she is still a great beauty, the young man from IKEA said with some regret. At this time, someone interrupted and said, "You are just a slut who covets my body." Unfortunately, not long after the end of the First Ninja World War, it is said that the Uchiha clan chose to rebel because they were dissatisfied with the decision of the Hokage's high-level officials. As a result, the Uchiha clan split into 2 factions, the Radical faction and the Peace faction. As the contradictions in the Uchiha clan intensified, in the end, a civil war broke out, but the head of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Chisori, disappeared just like the former head of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Madara. Kakashi was very surprised when he heard this. He didn't expect that the forbidden technique of the Uchiha clan, Izanagi, was created by a woman. But I'm curious, I don't know what the Byakugan is for. After all, the Hyuga clan also relies on their eyes to make a living. Ah, they don't know anything, they just peek at women taking a bath. Hyuga Hiyashi in the crowd listened to the words of the crowd, his face looked a little ugly, and at the same time a little embarrassed. He felt very uncomfortable watching the scene in front of him. After all, their Hyuga clan is also a big clan in Konoha and relies on their eyes to make a living. But what they meant was that the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan in Konoha was too rubbish and had no other use except to peek at women taking a bath. Look at the Uchiha clan, who always say that someone has opened the Sharingan. This is a genius. That person opened the legendary Mangekyo Sharingan. Look at their Hyuga clan. The best thing is the Hyuga clan's 8 diagrams 64 palms, their eyes can only observe the direction of the chakra in the ninja's body. If Namikaze Minato heard what he thought, he would definitely say that your eyes are still weak. If it is developed well, it may be stronger than the Samsara eye, just like when Tonari Otsutsuki's silver wheel reincarnation exploded and almost destroyed the entire Konoha. Is this weak? Who told you not to study your eyes and always follow the path of physical skills? This made Hinata Hiyashi so embarrassed that he didn't dare to look at his daughter and nephew, because the expressions of the two of them seemed to be besides, is there anything powerful about our ancestral Byakugan? Shimura Danzo listened to Kakashi's story about Izanagi, and his old face became extremely gloomy. A chilling voice came out of his mouth, "Did you tell Kakashi these?" Minato didn't say anything after hearing this. "How did you know these things?" Danzo said with a gloomy expression. Minato laughed and said, "You seem to have forgotten that I came from hell, but I met a lot of people there. For example, Uchiha Fugaku and Uchiha Makoto. By the way, I also met Shisui. He said that he died so unjustly. He also said that he missed you so much. He wanted you to go to hell with him." Minato's voice was not small, so the surrounding Konoha civilians could hear it. Everyone heard Minato say that he not only met Uchiha clan leaders Uchiha Fugaku and Uchiha Makoto in hell, but also Uchiha Shisui. This is the genius boy who became famous in the ninja world during the Third Ninja World War. Yes, I've seen that kid and he's very handsome. And he's completely different from other Uchiha. He doesn't have the arrogance of other Uchiha. Some Konoha civilians who had a good impression of Uchiha Shisui said. "I told you, how could the fourth Hokage know so much?" It turned out that he met Uchiha Shisui in hell, so it makes sense how the fourth Hokage knew everything that happened in those years. So that's it. Everyone seemed to be transformed into Conan and analyzed everything Minato said. The dead don't lie. This is the effect Minato wanted, and he really made things worse. Minato said something inadvertently, and everyone suddenly realized it. Yes, what the fourth Hokage said is indeed true, even though he has been dead for decades. But the fourth Hokage met the current head of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Fugaku, and the Uchiha clan's Shunshin Shisui. Maybe he has also met the first Hokage and the second Hokage in these years. They have met so many dead people in hell, and so many years have passed. Isn't it normal to know some old things? In this way, Minato's words can be more convincing. Add to this the Sharingan on Shimura Danzo and the cells of the first Hokage Hashirama, this is an unchangeable fact. When everyone thought of this, they looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen again, his eyes seemed to say, "You are not a good guy either. Fourth Hokage, have you really seen my father and mother?" Uchiha Sasuke walked out of the crowd slowly, bowed to Minato and said, "Thank you for telling me this, and Hokage, you just said that Shisui's eyes are also on this ugly guy." Puff, puff, puff. As Uchiha Sasuke said this, everyone present couldn't help but burst out laughing, even Minato couldn't help laughing, he really didn't expect that the usually cool-looking second pillar would be so poisonous. Danzo Shimura, who was not far away, said with a grim expression, "Evil Uchiha, the brat actually called me ugly." It's no wonder that Sasuke Uchiha asked that question, because when Shisui Uchiha died suddenly, the Uchiha clan pointed the finger at Itachi Uchiha, because they suspected that Itachi Uchiha killed Shisui Uchiha. But now you tell him that Shisui was killed by the ugly Shimura Danzo. Minato looked at the second pillar in front of him with a look of doubt in his life and shook his head and said, "Look, is there a white bandage wrapped around his left eye? Because that is the Mangekyo Sharingan of Uchiha Shisui that he dug out." Without waiting for Sasuke to react, Minato said again, "There is more. Not only that, look at Shimura Danzo's left arm. Is there a bandage wrapped around it?" Everyone nodded and continued. "Kakashi has already told you just now. The one on Shimura Danzo's arm is the Uchiha clan's 3 Magatama Sharingan. And Danzo's arm is made of the cells of the first generation of Hokage, otherwise how could there be so many 3 Magatama Sharingans? Even the left eye is it as the Mangekyo Sharingan of the Uchiha clan." Quote. Minato's tone became a little cold as he spoke and continued. "The third Hokage and the Konoha elders spread rumors and killed Konoha's hero Hatake Tsukumo, and then prevented the ninja from attacking the Nine Tails on the night of the Nine Tails. That would have been fine, but they knew that the Uchiha clan had illusions. Quote, you can control the Nine Tails and let the Uchiha clan stay on standby, which led to Kushina and I being in a desperate situation. In the end, in order to leave Konoha with the last hope, I made a decision that went against our ancestors." Quote, everyone in Konoha village stared at Minato intently, expecting Minato to tell the next thing, while Namikaze Minato glanced at Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo opposite him, as if to say, if you two don't take action, I will continue to talk, right? So I decided to seal the Nine Tails in my newborn son, Uzumaki Naruto, but I didn't expect my son to be treated like this. Not only did he not get the treatment he deserved, he was also beaten and scolded by you every day. He is the son of the Hokage. The common people of Konoha recalled it like Asuma. One called him young master, the other called him young master, but what about Naruto? The two of them are both sons of the Hokage, but the treatment they receive is worlds apart. One is the son of the Hokage who is admired by thousands of people, while the other is a demon fox monster who is despised by everyone. Forget it, I don't want to be the Hokage anymore. I'll take Naruto away from here. He looked at Rukia and Uzumaki Naruto and signaled them. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo were overjoyed after hearing this. Even they didn't expect such a turn. Although they didn't want Minato and Uzumaki Naruto to leave the village, there was no better result now. The two had originally planned to die with Minato. But Minato didn't want to be the Hokage anymore. The surprise came too fast. Everyone was shocked when they heard it, because everyone had just said a lot of bad things about the Konoha high level and the third Hokage, and knew so many secrets. With the mind of Shimura Danzo, how could he let them live? What's more, there is the third Hokage. Even if the third Hokage doesn't pursue it, they will have no good days in Konoha in the future. Therefore, they must not let Minato go. After thinking about this, a poor man in Konoha knelt down first. Please don't leave, the fourth Hokage, and take the position of Hokage again. Seeing someone kneeling, everyone knelt down one after another. In the blink of an eye, thousands of civilians knelt in front of Minato. Kakashi, Yuhi Kurenai and others on the side also came to Minato and knelt on one knee. For example, Hiashi Hyuga gritted his teeth and knelt in front of Minato. Then the heads of other tribes also knelt in front of Minato and expressed their loyalty to Minato. Minato smiled slightly when he saw this. This was the effect he wanted. What he wanted to leave was just a pretense. It was just used to force them to stand in line. At this time, everyone looked at Minato Namikaze and shouted in unison, please, the fourth Hokage, remove the cancer of Konoha. Hearing this, Minato Namikaze looked at these civilians of Konoha with some surprise. He didn't expect these civilians of Konoha to be so ungrateful. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo are not good guys. It's not an exaggeration to say that they are the borers of Konoha. Look at what Konoha village has become. I am submissive to the outside world, but I hit hard inside and outside, just like treating the Kumogakure. It was the eldest lady of the Kumogakure who wanted to take away the Hyuga clan, but was killed by Hyuga Hiashi in anger. Later, it became that the Hyuga clan provoked the Kumogakure, killed the representative of their Kumogakure and asked Konoha village to hand over the murderer, so they let Hyuga Hiashi, who looked similar to Hyuga Hiashi, take the place of Hyuga Hiashi and get the lunch box. Therefore, Hyuga Neji transferred his resentment to Hyuga Hinata. Indeed, at that time, Konoha was in a period of transition. Powerful ninjas such as the three ninjas, codenamed Huang, gambling and drug, all left Konoha. The third generation and the Konoha elders were unwilling to lead the Konoha ninjas to the battlefield, so they had no choice but to agree to the unreasonable demands of the Cloud Ninja village. In the next few years, they didn't think about how to cultivate a new generation of powerful ninjas, but only focused on fighting for power and profit, wasting a lot of time. However, it was also because Konoha village had a rich family background. I'm afraid they will all be destroyed by these old guys, just like the Uchiha clan. Although they have a bad temper, they haven't done anything to let down your Konoha elders and you, Sarutobi Hiruzen. But you wiped them out. Isn't this a disguised way to weaken the overall strength of Konoha village? Sarutobi Hiruzen's old face trembled violently when he heard this, but what he felt more was his disappointment towards the common people of Konoha. He thought that he was not a good person and he had let many people down, but he was very good to the common people of Konoha. He looked at Minato Namikaze and said, "Minato, do it." Danzo Shimura, who was standing by, was extremely gloomy when he saw this. He was not as open-minded as Sarutobi Hiruzen. His biggest dream in his life was to become a Hokage. It was because he went to the Kumogakure with his teacher, Tobarama Senju, and others, and the negotiations were besieged by the rebels of the Kumogakure. In the end, Tobarama Senju had no choice but to stay behind to cover the retreat and buy time for everyone to escape. Just because Sarutobi Hiruzen said that sentence a step faster than himself. If I stayed behind to cover the retreat, I would have become the third generation Hokage successor. If I had been more decisive and said this before Sarutobi Hiruzen, would I have been the Hokage? Then Minato's voice sounded, "Well, let me take you there." As soon as the voice fell, Minato's figure disappeared. Sarutobi Hiruzen held the kunai in his hand tightly against his chest, always on guard, and tried his best to find Minato's figure. The same was true for Shimura Danzo on the side. He held the kunai in his hand, and his heart sank. He thought to himself that he couldn't see his figure at all, as if he had disappeared. Could he still increase his strength in hell? Shimura Danzo couldn't help but curse. This is not Flying Thunder God, this is just the instant body technique. He can't see his figure with the instant body technique. Could it be that his instant body technique has surpassed Uchiha Shisui? In an instant, Sarutobi Hiruzen's pupils shrank suddenly, and he saw Minato appear behind Shimura Danzo. The Ryujin Jaka in his hand directly pierced through Shimura Danzo's chest, and Shimura Danzo suddenly spurted out a mouthful of old blood. There was no hot blood flowing out of the wound that was pierced, because it was instantly evaporated by the high temperature of Ryujin Jaka. Sarutobi Hiruzen's face showed a solemn expression when he saw this scene because he didn't see how Minato appeared behind Shimura Danzo just now. Shimura Danzo looked at his chest with a ferocious face, and saw a black stick burning with flames stuck in his chest. Then everyone in Konoha village saw an unforgettable scene. Minato chanted a fire escape in his mouth. Flames burned the sky. Instantly, a raging flame came out from the blade and submerged the two. A pillar of flame with a diameter of 1 meter rose from the ground. Until it was about 10 to 20 meters high, the flames soon dissipated, and there was no trace of Shimura Danzo in front of him. I'm afraid there was not even ashes left. Only Minato was left standing there holding the Ryujin Yaka. The surrounding ground was also burned to scorch. But what surprised everyone was that Minato was also in the flames. Why was there nothing wrong with him? Everyone began to discussing how Minato was unscathed in such a sea of fire, and Kakashi could not see anything with his 3 Magatama Sharingan. Uzumaki Naruto on the side was very happy to see this, and he would definitely wait for his father to finish the battle. I want him to teach me this move. It's so cool. Only Rukia on the side looked normal, because she was the only one who saw that Minato used the fire escape just now and wrapped herself with spiritual pressure. That's why there was no sign of injury. Danzo's figure appeared again from not far away, and his face was gloomy as he saw another 3 Magatama Sharingan on his arm was scrapped. Danzo's heart was bleeding. Why did he want to destroy Uchiha? Wasn't it all for the Uchiha clan's Sharingan? But now Minato's appearance has taught Shimura Danzo a hard lesson. In the face of absolute strength, any conspiracy and trickery is just a joke. Namikaze Minato looked at Shimura Danzo helplessly and said, "You are really a difficult guy." Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Shimura Danzo and saw that Shimura Danzo's face was pale, and he obviously had not recovered from the battle just now. Haha, the combat awareness is really good. Minato carried the burning Ryujin Jaka and walked to a distance from Shimura Danzo and Sarutobi Hiruzen. He smiled and said slowly, I haven't spent all these years in hell in vain. Just look at the fire escape just now. Isn't it very exciting? But the two of us are not easy to mess with, Danzo said sinisterly. Hearing Shimura Danzo's idiotic remarks, Minato sneered and said, really? Then he disappeared in a flash, and several flying thunder god kunai appeared on the left in an instant. Seeing this, the two quickly moved together. In the battlefield, all the eyes of Shimura Danzo were activated to the extreme. The Mangekyo Sharingan in Danzo's left eye was spinning madly to find Minato's figure, and the Sharingan on his arm also began to spin madly. Suddenly, the body felt a breath of death coming, covering Shimura Danzo, and at the same time, a figure appeared vaguely behind him. Although it is not as good as the Byakugan in terms of reconnaissance, it is also not as good as the eyes. So many eyes are almost 360 degrees without dead angle observation, and Minato was found in the first time, although Minato's whereabouts were discovered by relying on the advantage of many eyes. But the body can't keep up, and there is no way to do it. With a puff, the sharp blade entered the flesh. In the same way and the same action, the sharp blade once again passed through Shimura Danzo's chest, and the tip of the Ryujin Jaka passed through Shimura Danzo's chest again. But this time, Minato did not add any chakra to the Ryujin Jaka, and the Ryujin Jaka did not burn with raging flames like last time. Cough, cough, Danzo spat out another mouthful of old blood, holding the tip of the blade of Ryujin Jaka with both hands and spoke with difficulty. When did it happen? Is this flying thunder god or a simple instant body technique? Danzo asked Minato with a look of satisfaction on his face. I remember that you didn't leave the vertical style of flying thunder god on me. How is it possible? When did Minato leave the vertical style of flying thunder god on himself? Minato didn't have the habit of telling his enemies his trump cards, so he said directly and differently. Wait until you die and ask the second generation Hokage Senju Tobirama. Maybe he will know. At this time, Shimura Danzo knew that he was powerless to save the situation and another Sharingan was scrapped. He said to Sarutobi Hiruzen, hurry up and take advantage of this moment. Sarutobi Hiruzen heard this and held the Tsurumo who turned into a Rui stick in his hand and smashed it hard at Namikaze Minato. Shimura Danzo was ready just when he was talking to Minato Namikaze. Minato saw this and quickly pulled out Ryujin Jaka and kicked Shimura Danzo's body towards the Rui stick that was hitting him. Shimura Danzo's face changed drastically when he saw this, and a trace of fear flashed in his eyes. In an instant, he was hit by Shimura Danzo. With a bang, Shimura Danzo's body was blown away like a rag doll, flying several meters in the air before falling to the ground. As Shimura Danzo fell to the ground, a deep pit several meters away was smashed on the ground. The figure of Shimura Danzo lying on the ground slowly disappeared. Minato, who was watching not far away, saw this and thought to himself that this guy was not so easy to die. Seeing this, Hiruzen Sarutobi's face was extremely gloomy and he said to the Tsurumo, the Tsurumo is about to turn into a diamond prison wall and a Rui stick. The Tsurumo flew over, and then circled Minato Namikaze. The Rui stick instantly turned into dozens of sticks and trapped Minato Namikaze inside. Minato was a little surprised when he saw this. You rely on this to suppress me, it's simply a fantasy. Minato looked at the barrier made by the Tsurumo turning into a Rui stick in front of him. You should not be dead yet, old Danzo. If you are not dead, come out. Isn't the third generation my opponent? Minato said to Shimura Danzo who was lying dead not far away. Shimura Danzo in front of him was obviously fake. Minato remembered that in the original work, when the second pillar was fighting with Danzo, he killed Shimura Danzo several times before revealing his true self. In the end, the classic scene was staged, kunai stabbed Susanoo, and the sealing technique sealed a bridge. These were all topics that everyone talked about in the previous life. It's really troublesome to kill so many Sharingan. I don't know how many times I have to kill them. I couldn't help but ask, Danzo, how many resurrection coins do you have? Danzo was stunned when he heard it, and his face turned cold and said, what do you want to say? In fact, Minato was also helpless. He also I want to cut off Shimura Danzo's arm, but Danzo is also an old coin. He gives me an Izanagi every time, what can I do? But Minato is not discouraged. If killing you once doesn't work, then kill you 10 times, 100 times, you are not covered with Sharingan. Seeing this, Shimura Danzo's face was gloomy, he bit his thumb and slapped the ground and shouted, "Summoning technique Dream Taper." Looking at Shimura Danzo's summoning beast, Minato was a little curious whether this guy was an elephant or something. This Izanagi is really troublesome, how buggy is this? I can only kill it again and again, but it doesn't matter. Minato couldn't help but think in his heart. This ninjutsu also has its shortcomings. Using this technique consumes the user's chakra very much. Because nothing in the world is perfect. Of course, ninjutsu is no exception. Izanagi's immunity and reset effects cannot restore the user's chakra, which means that although Danzo can be immune to death when using this ninjutsu, his chakra is indeed unrecoverable. So if Shimura Danzo uses it that way, he may soon be unable to use it due to chakra exhaustion. He may even be unable to fight. After all, everyone knows that ninjas need to rely on ninjutsu to fight. And the premise of performing ninjutsu is to have sufficient chakra. Minato looked at the panting Shimura Danzo and smiled slightly because he knew that there was not much chakra left in Shimura Danzo's body. Danzo looked at Namikaze Minato's slightly playful eyes and frowned deeply, because he felt that he had almost consumed the chakra in his body because of activating Izanagi. If the fight continues, he and Yuanfei Hiruzen may have to explain here. Minato stood in the cage that was transformed by the monkey demon. Just behind the cage, a summoned beast that looked like an elephant appeared behind Minato Namikaze. This four-legged beast was exactly the summoned beast of Shimura Danzo, the Dream Taper. Dream Swallowing. The moment this summoned beast appeared, it released a large-scale wind escape ninjutsu towards the position where Minato Namikaze was. Minato wanted to release ninjutsu or something, but he felt that his body was slowly moving inwards. My goodness, is this guy going to eat himself? Even the monkey demon on the ground was slid on the ground by this huge suction force, dragging out several deep pits. Shimura Danzo and Yuanfei Hiruzen were very happy to see this. It's done, and Yuanfei Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo's wrinkled old faces also showed a relieved smile. Seeing this scene, the Konoha civilians and clan leaders who had just fought against Minato Namikaze showed an ugly look on their faces, because they had just fought against Minato Namikaze, but if Minato Namikaze was suppressed by the two, there was no guarantee that Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo would come to settle accounts with them. Or treat them like the Uchiha who had been exterminated. So they decided that if Minato Namikaze was defeated, they would take action to rescue Minato Namikaze. After all, they are now grasshoppers on the same boat with Minato Namikaze. Unlike everyone else, Kakashi, Yuhi Kurenai and Mitarashi Anko, the elite ninjas of Konoha, have seen the strength of Minato Namikaze, who crushed Orochimaru and beat Shukaku with chakra alone. So it is impossible to defeat Minato Namikaze by such means alone. Seeing this, Rukia looked at Naruto and asked, "Naruto, do you hate Konoha village?" Naruto shook his head in confusion. At this time, Rukia discovered that there were some strange chakras in Naruto's body. It seemed that these chakras were affecting Naruto's thinking, making Naruto have no hatred in his heart, only a yearning for life. At this time, a strange spell was heard chanting in the water gate, "King." The mask of flesh and blood, the universe, flapping wings, the thing named human. Scorch and chaos, rolling back to the south across the sea, step forward. The one who reigns supreme, the one who is crowned with the name of flesh and blood, the myriad phenomena, the feathered warriors, the one who wins the battle, the sea of scorching heat and chaos, the one who goes southward and steps forward. As the chant slowly rang out, a golden energy ball with a diameter of 80 meters slowly appeared on Minato's right hand, slowly gathering over his head and smashing towards Danzo's summoned beast. Yuanfei Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo were shocked when they saw this. This is too scary. But at the same time, he did not forget to dodge, and directly used the instant body technique to dodge. Seeing this, the crowd watching around were all terrified. Someone in the crowd shouted to run, and everyone reacted and ran away, only to regret that their parents did not give them 2 more legs. The Soizao red fire cannon made a thunderous sound around, and everything within a radius of hundreds of meters was instantly blown into a bottomless pit. As for the summoned beasts of Yuanfei Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo, they had disappeared long ago, and they were probably beaten back to the summoning world. Minato Namikaze, who caused all this, was not satisfied, because it took too much time to perform this move. The enemy is not stupid, and it is impossible for him to stand there and greet it stupidly. The key is that this is not the Dragon Ball world. You use a big move and I will take it here. Only a fool will take it, right? Unless the number 90 broken Dao Black Coffin can directly lock the enemy, making the enemy unable to move and directly receive damage. Rukia, who was not far away, was shocked when she saw this. She didn't understand why the number 31 red fire cannon used by Minato was so powerful. In Rukia's cognition, the red fire cannon was, it seems to be, only the size of a watermelon. Minato's figure disappeared and appeared beside the two of them. He kicked Yuanfei Hiruzen in the chest. The huge force blasted Yuanfei Hiruzen's body away and slid on the ground for dozens of meters. He spurted out a mouthful of blood and his breath was weak. Hiruzen. Shimura Danzo's eyes were bloodshot when he saw this, and he hurriedly shouted, Hiruzen. Minato said indifferently, don't shout, it's your turn soon. Before he finished speaking, he punched directly and landed directly on Shimura Danzo's head. With a bang, Shimura Danzo's head was smashed into pieces, and the brain mixed with blood fell to the ground and then slowly disappeared. Minato saw this, and sure enough, Shimura Danzo still had a resurrection coin. No, it was a Sharingan. Sure enough, Shimura Danzo's figure reappeared on the battlefield after a while. At this time, Shimura Danzo's heart was no longer as calm as before. Shimura Danzo looked up at Minato and said, Minato, how about we call a truce? I will hand over the control of the route to you, and I will no longer interfere in Konoha's affairs. Minato looked at Shimura Danzo with some surprise. It was hard to believe that such words came from the mouth of this old coin. But Minato still shook his head and said slowly, if you said this before we started fighting, I might have spared your life. But now, you can only die. Danzo's face was so gloomy that water could drip out of it. He looked at Minato and said slowly, is there really no room for maneuver? Minato shook his head slowly. Shimura Danzo laughed and said, do you really think I have no way out? What will happen if I fight to the death with you? Minato said slowly, the fish may die, but the net will not break. Shimura Danzo saw that the two did not reach an agreement, and he retreated to the distance in an instant. Minato said, it's time to end this farce. Sarutobi Hiruzen's face was a little ugly when he heard the words. He pushed away Sarutobi Asuma, who was supporting him, and slowly stood up with one hand covering his violently heaving chest. He also heard what Minato said just now. Is the battle of 3-cage level strongmen just a boring farce in Minato's eyes? This is really ironic. Then Minato appeared in front of Shimura Danzo, with his sword raised, but what was incredible was that Minato's action froze there. Shimura Danzo saw this and raised his mouth slightly, revealing a smile like an old coin, and directly used the instant body technique to move away from Minato. He shouted to Sarutobi Hiruzen not far away. Hiruzen, take down Namikaze Minato quickly, he has been controlled by me. Minato pondered slightly, not knowing when he was hit, looking at the black runes that continued to spread from the bottom of his feet, thinking about when he was sealed. Minato felt that a special force was controlling his body, making him unable to move at all. Shimura Danzo was a little proud when he saw that Minato couldn't move at all, and he slowly said, seal of the self-injury spell, it's time to put an end to Minato. At this time, everyone looked again and saw that Minato's body was full of dense black runes, which were about to spread to both sides of his cheeks. At this time, Minato's left-hand fingers moved slightly twice. Of course, this scene was not seen by anyone. There is another way to actually break this seal, which is to use your own chakra to directly reopen the bondage. But it is not necessary for Minato, because his wife is playing the seal. Minato felt that as long as the place covered by this technique, his body could not move. It was like being cast under a spell. Ahem, Danzo, stop talking, hurry up and get rid of Minato. Sarutobi Hiruzen said slowly. HMPH, Hiruzen, I have to say that sometimes you are much more cruel than me. Minato is your grandson. He is also Jiraiya's disciple, and you have the heart to kill him. Shimura Danzo said with some sarcasm. Sarutobi Hiruzen shouted. Danzo, are you a fool? Don't waste time. If we don't take action, we will die in Minato's hands. On the other side, in the sealed space, Kyuubi and Uzumaki Kushina, one person and one fox, watched everything happening outside with the help of Naruto's perspective in the sealed space, but what was surprising was that both Uzumaki Kushina and Kyuubi looked unusually calm on their faces. It seems that Minato outside the sealed space has nothing to do with them, which is of course not the case. In the eyes of the Nine Tails, Minato is just teasing them. As long as Minato wants to, he can end the battle in an instant. Besides, those two old men want to control Minato. Don't be funny. Minato killed the strongest of the nine-tailed beasts with a single unmarked ninjutsu. Seeing this, Uzumaki Kushina smiled on her beautiful and delicate face. Slowly said, Shimura Danzo is really stupid. He actually used the sealing technique on Minato. Outside the sealed space, the conversation between Shimura Danzo and Sarutobi Hiruzen also attracted the attention of the Konoha ninjas. As early as when Namikaze Minato and Shimura Danzo were fighting, Danzo's rude ninjas had been killed by the Konoha Anbu ninjas sent by Minato. The civilians of Konoha village and a group of Konoha civilian ninjas were all shocked when they saw this. They saw that Minato was in a strange posture with one hand raised, and a black flame burning. Wooden stick, Shimura Danzo and Sarutobi Hiruzen are approaching Minato Namikaze cautiously. Minato does not move. Everyone saw that he was controlled, didn't they? They all widened their eyes and felt a little incredible. Seeing this scene, everyone's faces showed an extremely gloomy look. This is not good news for them, whether they are civilians in Konoha village or Konoha ninjas. Because they are on Minato's side, if Minato loses, with Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo's personalities, they may still have a way to survive. For a while, everyone was eager to move and came up to support Minato Namikaze. The Hyuga clan leader, Hiashi Hyuga, who was observing from the side, saw that Kakashi, who was a disciple of Minato Namikaze, had a calm face and was a little confused, so he couldn't help but ask. Kakashi, the fourth Hokage is your teacher, aren't you worried at all? Aren't you going to support him? Kakashi was a little helpless when he heard this, and couldn't help but explain to Hiashi Hyuga who was standing by. Minato's strength is more than that, don't panic, Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo are not Minato's opponents. Everyone calmed down after hearing this. They believed in Kakashi's words, and hoped that the fourth Hokage would really win the final victory as Kakashi said, and get rid of these two borers of Konoha for Konoha. Then they saw the two stopped not far from Minato, and their hands quickly formed seals to release ninjutsu. At the same time as the seals were formed, 4 shadow clones of Sarutobi Hiruzen appeared beside him. 5 escape techniques. Dalian Tan no Jutsu. Wind escape technique. Vacuum Daijutsu. This time, Minato did not use fire escape technique directly like last time, but used Flying Thunder God to come behind Shimura Danzo and Sarutobi Hiruzen, and slashed with his sword, causing 2 flames and rumbling sounds to burst out around the battlefield. For a moment, dust flew, sawdust splashed, and smoke billowed. When the smoke cleared, everyone saw that the ground where Minato had stood had disappeared, leaving only a large pit with a burnt smell. There were still residual flames around, and a violent coughing sound came from not far from the pit. Cough cough. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound and saw that it was Sarutobi Hiruzen and the burnt Shimura Danzo. If you didn't look carefully, you would think that Shimura Danzo was dead. At this time, Shimura Danzo's weak voice sounded, Hiruzen, you are so cruel. It turned out that just when Minato appeared behind the two of them, Sarutobi Hiruzen took advantage of Shimura Danzo's failure to notice and kicked him towards the terrifying flame slash. Sarutobi Hiruzen took this opportunity to run to the place where he had just performed the ninjutsu. As for why Shimura Danzo and Sarutobi Hiruzen were lying not far away. Of course, they were affected by the explosion of the ninjutsu. Shimura Danzo was about to die and his life had reached the end. He still couldn't help asking, why did you do that? Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Shimura Danzo with some guilt and said, I'm sorry, Danzo. But I can't die. If I die, the Sarutobi clan will be finished. Shimura Danzo felt extremely disgusted when he heard Sarutobi Hiruzen's hypocritical words. Shimura Danzo slowly turned over from the ground, his eyes slightly turned upward and looked at Minato and said, Minato, I also have a certain responsibility for the Night of the Nine Tails 13 years ago. It was me who stopped Uchiha Fugaku from supporting you, and therefore killed you in Kushina. Do you know why your son has lived so hard these years? Minato looked at Shimura Danzo, who was about to die, and cast a ghost barrier. Because Minato felt that Sarutobi Hiruzen was simply cruel and ruthless, he was worried that this guy could not accept these words from Shimura Danzo and killed him. Shimura Danzo was slightly stunned when he saw this scene, and then he showed a relieved smile, because Minato was afraid that Sarutobi Hiruzen would hit him again. Although he was about to die, he still wanted to tell Minato everything, so he continued. Because Sarutobi Hiruzen thought that only by making Naruto feel the malice around him could he be used by him, Sarutobi Hiruzen took Ur and Kushina's house for himself, and announced to the outside that the fourth generation said that this house would belong to Konoha after his death, but in fact it all went into the pockets of their Sarutobi clan. For this reason, the third generation gave Naruto 1,000 taels of living expenses every month, leaving the image of a kind grandfather in Naruto's heart. As for the rewards for the S-level and A-level tasks you did, they were all divided up by us. What Shimura Danzo said just now was transmitted to the outside through the ghost sound amplification barrier set up by Minato. Everyone was shocked when they heard it. They didn't expect that the third generation Hokage, who was so amiable on the surface, was so cruel. At this time, everyone looked at Uzumaki Naruto with some guilt, thinking that the demon fox who had been around for so many years was actually the son of the Hokage. Soon, everyone turned all their guilt into anger and transferred it to Sarutobi Hiruzen. Shouted loudly, "The fourth Hokage, kill Sarutobi Hiruzen and remove the evil from Konoha." Shimura Danzo, who was lying on the ground, looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen with a mocking smile on his face. Then Shimura Danzo looked at Minato and said, "Fourth Hokage, can I ask you for a favor?" Minato frowned slightly and said, "You can tell me first. Fourth Hokage, please let the Shimura clan go. Everything they did was instructed by me." As he spoke, Shimura Danzo slowly took out a jade token from his arms, on which the word Shimura was written. He took the jade token from Danzo's hand and was in a trance. Looking at Minato, he slowly said, "The jade token of the fourth Hokage is the token of the head of our Shimura clan, and it is also a military token. With this token, all the members of the Shimura clan must obey absolutely." Seeing this, Namikaze Minato said, "I am not from your Shimura clan. Is it appropriate for me to hold this token of the head of the clan?" The fourth Hokage is joking. "Of course, you are not from our Shimura clan, but from now on, our Shimura clan must obey the orders of the fourth Hokage." Minato nodded slightly when he heard this. Seeing this, Danzo breathed a sigh of relief and continued, "My eye is useless here." As he said this, Shimura Danzo put his only remaining left hand on the Mangekyo Sharingan in his left eye. Puff, quote, a bloody eye appeared in his left hand. The only remaining eye looked at the Mangekyo Sharingan in his hand and fell into memories. He sighed slightly, it was really retribution. Minato took it and put the Mangekyo Sharingan and the clan leader's token into the system space. Danzo saw that Minato Namikaze accepted his Mangekyo Sharingan and slowly closed his remaining right eye, feeling the loss of life. After a while, Shimura Danzo's chest slowly stopped rising and falling, and it was obvious that his life had come to an end. Minato Namikaze looked at the dead Shimura Danzo and sighed in his heart. "I didn't expect it. Shimura Danzo has such a side. Maybe it's because people are about to die, and their words are good. Know how to consider their own people." Quote. What Shimura Danzo didn't know was that if it wasn't for his request that made Minato look at him with new eyes, the Shimura clan would be exterminated from the ninja world after today. Not only the Shimura clan, but also the Mito clan, the Sarutobi clan and the Utatane clan would be exterminated. Thinking of this, a trace of cruelty flashed in Minato Namikaze's eyes. He was a time traveler who knew that if the grass is not uprooted, it will grow again in the spring breeze. You must know that Shimura Danzo, but he had never called Sarutobi Hiruzen, Hokage-sama, in his life. Today, he actually called himself, Hokage-sama, when he was about to die. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was outside the barrier, had a gloomy face when he heard Shimura Danzo calling Minato. You know, Shimura Danzo had never called him, Hokage, once. Today, He actually called Minato Namikaze, Hokage-sama, for the first time. Does it mean that he, the third Hokage, is not as good as Minato, the fourth Hokage? Minato Namikaze waved his hand to remove the barrier and looked at the ragged Sarutobi Hiruzen and said, "How can you fight me when you are like this?" Minato looked at the white-haired old man. Perhaps this was the real Sarutobi Hiruzen. The amiable old man he saw on weekdays was just his disguise. Now this cruel and ruthless man was the original ninja hero. Now Sarutobi Hiruzen was panting, his back was hunched, and his face was full of fatigue. But he still said stubbornly, "Hehe, who will win? It's still uncertain." Minato looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen and said, "In fact, if it weren't for Orochimaru's impure world reincarnation, I wouldn't have come out. From the moment I came out, your fate was doomed. You were already seriously injured in the battle with Orochimaru, and now you are fighting with me at a high intensity. If I'm not mistaken, you should be at the end of your strength now. You dare to fight me with such a body. If you didn't take action at that time or retired directly, maybe I wouldn't touch you, and you wouldn't die. Okay, it's time to end all this, because I've had enough fun." Minato walked forward slowly with the Ryujin Yaka, and the ground was burned with scorched earth burned by flames. For such a battle, Minato was basically just for fun, to hone his fire escape ninjutsu, and he didn't take it seriously at all, otherwise it would have ended long ago. Another thing is to make the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen and the Konoha elders become the existence that everyone hates in Konoha. This is the purpose of Namikaze Minato. I said here that killing people must have a process, just like a man and a woman going to bed, there must be a process, right? Otherwise it will be over in a moment. How boring. Watching Sarutobi Hiruzen disappear with a flying thunder god, he appeared behind Sarutobi Hiruzen and stabbed him with a knife. With a puff, the Ryujin Jaka slowly penetrated Sarutobi Hiruzen's body. Sarutobi Hiruzen only heard Minato's voice, "Third Hokage, have a good journey." As soon as Namikaze Minato finished speaking, Sarutobi Hiruzen felt a pain in his chest. He slowly lowered his head and saw that a flaming long sword had pierced his chest. Sarutobi Hiruzen's face turned pale, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Minato looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen's current appearance and said, "In fact, when I first became Hokage, you should have abdicated. You should also understand my character. Even if you are no longer Hokage, I will not treat you Sarutobi clan unfairly." Practical. I don't hate Shimura Danzo so much. After all, he did nothing wrong. After all, we still have to be wary of the Uchiha clan, right? You are all disciples of the second Hokage, so you all follow the will of the second Hokage. Because the Mangekyo Sharingan in the eyes of the Nine Tails, although it was not done by the Uchiha clan, it cannot wash away the suspicion. But what makes me most disheartened is you, the third Hokage. On the night of the Nine Tails, where were you as the third Hokage? You chose to hide. If I remember correctly, you should have been at the peak of your ninja body more than 10 years ago. Facing the rampage of the Nine Tails, you chose to hide. In the end, I was stopped by the mysterious masked man because of his intervention. You had no choice but to push the Nine Tails out of the center of Konoha village. In fact, Orochimaru is right. You should die to protect Konoha from the Nine Tails. In this way, you die as a hero, and your people will get the treatment they deserve. You distorted the true meaning of the will of fire. It should have been that the older generation should protect the younger generation and let the younger generation of children thrive. But it became that the younger generation of Konoha should protect, and you, an old guy, protected the Konoha elders. Third generation, why did you deprive me of everything that belonged to me after my death, everything I left for Naruto? At this time, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Naruto with some guilt, and looked at Minato and said slowly, "So you are here to seek justice for that child. You have changed a lot. I remember that you were not like this before." Minato chuckled and thought to himself, if it was the original Minato, he would not do this, but he is not the original Minato. But on the surface, he said lightly, "People will change, right?" Sarutobi Hiruzen understood a little after hearing this. Seeing this, Minato drew his long sword, and Sarutobi Hiruzen fell to the ground. Gradually lost the breath of life. You want to ask why Sarutobi Hiruzen did not ask Namikaze Minato to let the Sarutobi clan go like Shimura Danzo, but the question is it possible? The reason why Minato let the Shimura clan go is that Shimura Danzo has no offspring, so for the Shimura clan, it is nothing to change a stronger person to lead. And just now, Shimura Danzo also said that from now on, the Shimura clan will become his pawns. I believe they will not object. After all, if they object, they will die. This ray of hope was also obtained by their clan leader Danzo Shimura before his death. Suddenly a roar interrupted everyone's thinking. Dad! The uncle-like Sarutobi Asuma ran to the body of Sarutobi Hiruzen. He hugged Sarutobi Hiruzen's body, which was gradually losing temperature, and then looked at Minato Namikaze with red eyes, roaring, "You, die." As soon as he finished speaking, he attacked Minato Namikaze. When he just arrived behind Minato, the wind blade in his hand made a rustling sound because of the chakra injected into it. Everyone not far away was shocked by this scene and shouted loudly. Fourth Hokage, be careful. Minato didn't even look at him, and swung out the Ryujin Yaka in his hand in an instant. Asuma Sarutobi's head flew high in the air and fell to the ground after dancing in the air for a few circles. His body also fell to the ground and became a headless corpse. Seeing this, everyone showed mockery, mocking Asuma Sarutobi for overestimating his own abilities. Seeing this, Minato muttered, "Ants are trying to shake the sky." Asuma Sarutobi is over from now on. Even if Asuma Sarutobi didn't come out, Minato Namikaze would kill him, because if he killed Hiruzen Sarutobi, would he still stay in Konoha village? As the saying goes, the hatred of killing one's father is irreconcilable. Obviously not. In the past, Hiruzen Sarutobi was the third Hokage. As the son of the Hokage, Asuma Sarutobi must have been proud of it. Wherever he went, others would flatter him, calling him the son of the Hokage. Otherwise, why do you think Sarutobi Asuma, who has a 40-year-old face, can catch up with the famous beauty Yuhi Kurenai in Konoha village? Isn't it all because of Sarutobi Hiruzen, the third-generation Hokage? Now not only is Sarutobi Hiruzen dead, but Sarutobi Hiruzen has also become a sinner of Konoha. Sarutobi Asuma is now what kind of son of Hokage is that? Many civilians in Konoha cheered when they saw this, and some ninja families couldn't help but secretly say, "It seems that Konoha village is going to reshuffle." Unlike everyone else, Konoha village's elite ninja Yuhi Kurenai has a complicated heart. Not long ago, Sarutobi Asuma expressed his feelings to her, and she accepted him. Looking back now, I am really glad. At that time, Sarutobi Asuma wanted to sleep with me, but fortunately I rejected him and didn't take it any further. I even just went shopping with me and didn't let him touch my hand. Otherwise, it would be really troublesome now, and I might even implicate my family. Kurenai didn't like Asuma Sarutobi in her heart, but because Asuma's father was the third Hokage of Konoha, she never agreed or refused, because Kurenai knew very well that once she accepted, she would inevitably have physical contact in the future. But what Kurenai didn't expect was that the fourth Hokage Minato Namikaze was reborn and killed the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was known as the strongest Hokage of all generations. This also made her feel relieved. After all, Asuma Sarutobi was not good looking and she didn't like him. Then Minato burned the bodies of Sarutobi Hiruzen and Asuma Sarutobi to ashes, came to the body of Shimura Danzo, and signaled the Shimura clan ninjas to come up and bury Shimura Danzo's body. After all, Shimura Danzo not only gave him Uchiha Shisui's Mangekyo Sharingan and the clan leader's token, but also swiped out a lot of rewards from Shimura Danzo, such as the same Mangekyo Sharingan as Uchiha Shisui, so he still had to give Shimura Danzo a decent one. Ding! Congratulations to the host for finding a sign-in target. Do you sign in? Namikaze Minato, who was about to leave, paused because the clear and pleasant voice of the system elf sounded in Minato's mind. Minato was a little excited for a while. He didn't expect that Shimura Danzo could still give him a reward after his death. The last reward was the Mangekyo Sharingan. I don't know what will be signed in this time. Just thinking about it makes Minato very excited. Chapter 51. Congratulations to the host for signing in and successfully obtaining a can of Hashirama's cells. It has been placed in the system space. The system's somewhat cold voice sounded in Minato's mind. Minato nodded slowly and asked, "How many points do I have now?" Reply to the host, the current points are only 40 points. The system's somewhat cold voice sounded. Looking at the pitiful number of points, Minato sighed. Come here, Hokage-sama. Many Konoha civilian ninjas and Anbu ninjas knelt in front of Namikaze Minato, waiting for Namikaze Minato to give orders. Seeing this, Minato slowly said, from today on, Konoha will no longer have an Elders' Council, and the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen will be removed from Konoha. Then Minato shouted, Kakashi. Kakashi raised his head and looked at his teacher, and then Minato continued. Kakashi leads 100 Anbu ninjas to exterminate the Sarutobi clan. Everyone was stunned when they heard this. They didn't expect Namikaze Minato to be so cruel. Although the Sarutobi clan is not as big as the Uchiha clan and the Hyuga clan, it should not be underestimated. But what shocked them was still to come. They heard Minato continue. Might Guy, you led 100 civilian ninjas to exterminate the Mito clan. Might Guy was stunned when he heard this and asked in confusion, why? Fourth Hokage. Everyone was speechless after listening to Might Guy's thoughtless speech, and a little worried about Might Guy. Minato glanced at the watermelon head in front of him and said, because they are against the village, there is a threat, all the existences that threaten the village must be eliminated. Quote. Might Guy didn't understand what he heard, but he nodded and continued, I understand. Lord Hokage, this is youth. With Might Guy's shout, everyone looked at Might Guy. Quote. Kakashi on the side saw this and said helplessly, this guy is really, and then secretly glanced at Minato, worried that Might Guy would anger the teacher. Quote. Minato looked at the watermelon head in front of him and couldn't help but praise. This is the youth brother, the man who almost kicked out the finale. When watching anime in the previous life, if Kishimoto hadn't allowed it, that kick would hit the head of Six Paths Madara, maybe everything would be over, and Naruto and Sasuke would not be used at all. The Shimura clan listened to the order, and a beautiful woman came out and knelt on one knee. Minato Namikaze looked at the woman in front of him and slowly said, what's your name? The woman looked up at Minato and said, my lord Hokage, my name is Shimura Kanon. Minato nodded and said, you lead the Shimura clan to exterminate the Teni clan, is that okay? Seeing Minato asking him, he quickly answered, yes, Lord Hokage. Everything will be rearranged. After tomorrow, in the Hokage's office, the clan leaders of the major families must be present. Kakashi, Morino Ibiki, Bizuki Rito, Mitarashi Anko and Yuhi Kurenai, you all come too. Minato's unquestionable voice sounded faintly. That's right, Gangzi Tetsujin Tasuki Izumo, you two will immediately recall the Chunin and Jonin who are on missions outside. Minato said to the two gate gods of Konoha again. The two of you, Yamashiro Aoba, are mainly responsible for not letting any ninjas enter or leave Konoha village. In addition, the Hyuga clan should pay attention to the sand village on the border of the Land of Fire, and report any disturbances to me. Then he slowly said that the ninja world is about to change. Everyone was a little confused when they heard what Minato said, and they didn't understand why Minato Namikaze said this. Seeing this, everyone began to order the ninjas of the family to execute every order issued by Minato Namikaze. For everyone, it doesn't matter who becomes the Hokage, because in their eyes, the Hokage is their leader and their umbrella. Now the Hokage has been replaced by the more powerful Minato Namikaze, and they are too happy to object. How could they object? The strength shown by Minato Namikaze in the previous battle was very surprising. He fought two cage-level masters alone, one of whom was the strongest Hokage in Konoha's history, Sarutobi Hiruzen, and the other had the blessing of Sharingan and the cells of the first generation of Hokage. Even so, Minato Namikaze still killed the two without any damage. Although both of them are not in their prime. But at least they are both cage-level masters. The three fought for less than 10 minutes and ended the battle. Minato saw everyone leave, and also called Rukia and Uzumaki Naruto to leave. As for Kakashi and others, they also went to carry out the tasks assigned to them by Minato. After returning home, several people sat on the sofa in the living room. Minato saw Rukia also left after coming over. He told Rukia that there are many countries in the ninja world, but the largest countries are the Fire Country, the Earth Country, the Lightning Country, the Wind Country and the Water Country, which are the most powerful. Each of these countries has a ninja village, and the purpose of this ninja village is to protect these countries from being invaded by other countries. Rukia blinked her big watery eyes at Minato. Seeing this, Minato took a sip of water from the cup on the table and continued to talk about the ninjutsu and blood boundaries of this world. Time passed quickly. Minato smiled at Uzumaki Naruto, who was sleeping on the sofa. Rukia said, "Brother Minato, are you waiting for Kakashi and the others?" Minato nodded and said, "You actually know his name is Kakashi?" "Of course. After all, you have called his name many times during the day." Rukia smiled and came over to hold Minato's arms. Minato felt the softness of his arms and couldn't help but feel moved. At this time, Rukia's pleasant voice rang out, saying that Minato's elder brother Kaka and the others were back. Sure enough, Minato smelled a strong smell of blood soon after. Then Kakashi, Might Guy and the only female Shimura came in and knelt on one knee and said, "Reporting to the Hokage, the Sarutobi clan, the Mito clan, and the Utane clan were all killed, and there was no survivor." Hearing this, Minato Namikaze smiled and said, "Good, you did a good job. Okay, Kakashi, stay. I have something else to do. You two can leave first." "Yes, Hokage," and then the two of them left directly. Then Minato looked at Kakashi and said, "Kakashi, do you want to become stronger?" Kakashi pondered for a moment, then looked up at Minato, one eye full of determination, and said, "Minato teacher, I want to become stronger, so I trouble you." Then he bent down 90 degrees and bowed deeply to Minato, and Minato nodded slowly. "Okay, go back," Minato continued. Kakashi bowed to Minato again after hearing that, and then he glanced at Uzumaki Naruto, who was sleeping beside him. Seeing that Naruto was about to drool, he couldn't help but twitch his mouth slightly. Then he looked at Rukia, who was standing next to Minato. Rukia smiled beautifully and spoke first. "I am a good friend of Minato, my name is Kuchiki Rukia." Kakashi was a little flustered after hearing that, because as a single dog, he basically didn't have much contact with girls, let alone such a beautiful one. So he couldn't speak well. "Hello, my name is Hitaki Kakashi, and I am Minato's disciple." Namikaze Minato interrupted immediately and said, "Okay." Kakashi was relieved to see his teacher helping him out, and then asked, "Naruto, do you want me to take him home?" Minato shook his head and said, "No need." Minato even remembered Kakashi's habit of being late and couldn't help but remind him, "By the way, remember not to be late for the meeting tomorrow morning." Kakashi, who was walking outside, heard what Minato said, and his heart was warmed. Is this the feeling of having family care? Then he turned his head and looked at Minato, waved his hand, and disappeared with a jump. Minato looked at the direction where Kakashi disappeared and smiled and shook his head, then turned his head to look at Rukia and said, "Go and have a rest." Rukia nodded slightly and turned to go into the room. Rukia closed the door, leaned against the door with a little loss in her heart, and couldn't help whispering, "Why, Brother Minato didn't come to find me? Is it because I'm not beautiful enough?" Thinking of this, she came to the mirror in the room, looked at her delicate and lovely face, and looked down at her chest. Then she thought of something. Could it be because Brother Minato was still missing his deceased wife? Thinking of this, Rukia was full of fighting spirit again. If Minato knew that she thought so, he would definitely cry out for injustice. It's not that he doesn't want to, but the village has not yet recovered and needs to be stabilized. It's not appropriate to be sentimental now. On the other side, Minato returned to the room, took out a jar of flesh and blood from the system space, and looked at the jar curiously. This light green liquid should be the nutrient solution. The palm-sized flesh and blood soaked in the jar should be Hashirama's cells. Minato would never use this piece of Hashirama's cells for himself. There is no other reason, because Minato is also afraid that a face of Hashirama Senju will appear on his body. After all, he is not a pervert. His orientation is normal and he doesn't like to be gay. Haven't you seen that anyone who has transplanted Hashirama's cells will have the face of Hashirama Senju in various parts? So Namikaze Minato decided to give it to Kakashi. After all, Kakashi is his student and the only person he can trust now. How can you do things for yourself if you are not strong enough? Can't we rely on him as Hokage for everything? What's the point of being a Hokage if we have to do everything by ourselves? It's better to be a salted fish. Minato really doesn't trust other people now. Just as Minato was thinking, the system elf appeared in Minato Namikaze Minato's mind, and a pleasant voice sounded, "Oh, my stupid host." Minato asked after seeing the system elf. "You are such a chatterbox. This Hashirama cell is given to you by this system, of course there are no side effects so you don't have to worry." Minato nodded slightly and continued. "That system. Can you stop laughing so loudly in the future? It always reminds me of a guy," Minato said to the system elf. The system elf was stunned when he heard this, and didn't quite understand what Minato said, and then asked, "Who is that guy?" Minato was slightly stunned when he heard this, and shook his head and said, "I don't remember who it is, but he has a nickname called the Real Estate Tycoon." Then Minato exited the system space, lay on the bed, and fell asleep. The next morning, Minato was awakened by a rapid knock on the door, and heard Naruto's voice outside. "Dad is eating, Sister Rukia made a lot of delicious food." When he opened the door, he saw Uzumaki Naruto, looking here and there, very excited, because Naruto had never seen so many delicious things since he was a child. Because in Uzumaki Naruto's impression, the most delicious thing he had eaten was the ramen made by Uncle Ichiraku in Konoha village. When Minato came out, he saw Rukia coming over in a pink apron. When she saw Minato coming out, she hurriedly greeted him. "Brother Minato, come and eat. Everything is ready." As she said that, Rukia reached out and took off her apron. Minato smiled slightly after seeing this. Looking at the scene in front of him, Minato wanted to stay at this moment forever, but it was impossible for him. Because there are still many strong and potential enemies behind, Akatsuki Organization, Uchiha Obito, Uchiha Madara, Otsutsuki Kagaya and the Otsutsuki clan. Now the only way to quickly improve your strength is to keep signing in and get rewards from others. It is best to trigger the critical hit reward, so that the system will reward you with the power of other worlds, or weapons or skills, etc. After breakfast, Minato went to the Hokage building with Rukia and Naruto. Along the way, many Konoha civilians greeted Minato Namikaze and his party enthusiastically, but what Minato didn't know was, because Sarutobi Hiruzen specifically spread the word that the third Hokage was the strongest Hokage, because Minato killed the so-called strongest Hokage in history. Just think about it, Minato even killed the strongest Hokage in Konoha village. Doesn't this mean that Minato is stronger than the strongest Hokage in history, Sarutobi Hiruzen? That's why everyone respects Minato Namikaze so much. In addition, Minato also eliminated the two biggest cancers of Konoha village, Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo. Everyone saw that Uzumaki Naruto's attitude had changed from the previous indifference and hostility to a warm greeting. "Hello, Master Naruto." Naruto felt the compliments from everyone, and felt a little unnatural. He glanced at Minato, as if to say, "Dad, what should I do?" Minato nodded to Naruto, and Naruto understood what Minato meant and began to interact with everyone. The three of them walked to the Hokage's office and saw a female ninja in Anbu clothing. The female ninja knelt on one knee when she saw Minato Namikaze and said, "Fourth Hokage, you are here." Without waiting for Minato to speak, she continued. "The heads of the various families in Konoha village and a group of elite jonin in Konoha village are already inside." Minato nodded slightly and said, "Well done." Then he walked in. When everyone saw Minato coming in, they stood up from their seats. Minato slowly walked to the Hokage's seat and sat down. He waved his hand to indicate that everyone didn't need to panic and just sat down. Everyone saw Minato waving his hand to let everyone sit down. Everyone heard the words and saw Minato sitting in the first seat and then slowly sat down. On the other side, in the Cloud Country, in the Cloud Village, a tall and burly figure with blonde hair, a rough face, and a strong figure sat in the first seat and listened. He was shocked by the report of the ninja in front of him, and then he subconsciously started fighting because he heard a familiar name. Then he asked a little uncertainly, "Say it again what you just said." The Cloud Village ninja didn't understand why his own Raikage asked him to say it again. Ju said that a big event happened during the Chunin exam this time. Upon hearing this, the Raikage asked hurriedly, "What big event? Why are you making such a fuss?" The Cloud Hidden Ninja said, "Orochimaru killed the fourth Kazekage of the Sand Village." The fourth Raikage waved his hand and said, "I thought something big happened." Then the Cloud Hidden Ninja continued, "Orochimaru and the third Hokage of Konoha had a battle. The Raikage became interested and asked, "Go on." Then the ninja heard the Raikage asking him to continue, so he continued. Orochimaru used some technique to summon the dead first Hokage of Konoha village, Hashirama Senju, the second Hokage, and the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze. The Raikage touched his chin and thought slowly, not knowing what he was thinking. Then he said, "Did the three Hokages join forces to kill the old monkey of the third Hokage?" After hearing what his own Raikage said, he continued, "No," and then he beat back Orochimaru. After hearing his subordinates report that Minato Namikaze had killed Danzo Shimura and Hiruzen Sarutobi, he immediately reacted and said, "You mean the fourth Hokage of Konoha village, Minato Namikaze, has been resurrected?" Then he fell into memories. He remembered that it was during the Third Ninja World War. He and his brother Killer Bee had become quasi-cage level warriors. They joined the battlefield and thought they would kill everyone. He was expanding the territory for the Hidden Cloud village. As a result, just when he and his brother Killer Bee were preparing to fight a big battle, a young ninja from Konoha village suddenly appeared. Unlike other ninjas, this guy had yellow hair. He had a handsome face and a smile like spring breeze, and he was naturally friendly. This guy said his name was Minato Namikaze. At that time, he was young and energetic, and he was also the best among the young generation. He rushed directly to the young man named Minato Namikaze, but he was defeated. Seeing this, his brother Killer Bee directly turned on the half-tailed beast and fought with the opponent. As a result, neither side could do anything to the other after fighting for a long time. The opponent relied on the weird space ninjutsu to make him always a little behind the opponent no matter how fast he used. As a result, when the reinforcements of Konoha arrived, he and his brother retreated hastily, and finally became the stepping stone for Minato Namikaze to become famous in the Third Ninja World War. On the other hand, the ninjas from various villages who went to Konoha village for the Chunin exam returned to their own villages. At the same time, the news of Minato's resurrection spread throughout the ninja world. In the rock village of the Land of Earth, there was a short old man with wrinkles all over his face. The only thing that was unforgettable was that this guy had a festive nose. The old man sat in the first seat, and on both sides stood a slightly fat middle-aged man and a girl who looked about 17 or 18 years old. These two people were none other than his son and granddaughter. The old man looked to be about 70 years old, but he was in good spirits and didn't look like people of this age at all. These three people were none other than the third-generation Tsuchikage, known as the Two Scales of Onoki, his son Wangtu, and his granddaughter Kuritsuchi. The wrinkled face of the third Tsuchikage was full of vicissitudes. He looked at his son and then at his little granddaughter and asked, "What do you think of the news sent back by the spies in Konoha village? Are you talking about the golden flash that became famous in the Third Ninja World War?" Wangtu said with some doubt. At this time, the girl Kuritsuchi beside him saw this and asked, "Is this golden flash Namikaze Minato you are talking about really that powerful?" Onoki looked at his granddaughter and praised. "Not bad, you have improved." Kuritsuchi smiled and said, "I have been studying hard these days." Then Onoki said, "Let me tell you about this Namikaze Minato." Kuritsuchi nodded slightly and sat down on the chair next to him, with a pair of slender, white and tender legs like jade, crossed his legs, listening carefully to what Onoki said. Immediately, Kuritsuchi exclaimed and couldn't help but burst out with a swear word, "Is he that powerful?" Then Onoki told the story of how Minato died with his wife Uzumaki Kushina on the night of the Nine Tails 13 years ago. Hearing this, Kuritsuchi could no longer hold back. Are the people in Konoha village all fools? Why don't they help their fourth Hokage? Then Onoki sighed, "Yes. Konoha village is a place of outstanding people and beautiful scenery. In the front, there is Konoha White Fang Hitaki Sakumo who turned the tide. In the middle, there are the three ninjas who are the backbone, and in the back, there is the genius Minato Namikaze who suddenly appeared. It would be great if there were so many geniuses in our village." Wangtu interrupted at this time. Heitu thought for a while and said, "Then can't we win them over?" As soon as Heitu finished speaking, Onoki's eyes lit up and he looked at his granddaughter and said, "Heitu, what kind of man do you want to marry in the future?" Heitu, this simple and silly girl, obviously didn't understand her grandfather's hidden meaning. She thought seriously and then said, "At least he should be as handsome as senior brother Deidara, and he should be better than me, because I am an elite Jonin now, and he can't abandon me and be responsible for me. Hearing this, Onoki's wrinkled old face smiled like a blooming chrysanthemum. Onoki thought secretly, you silly girl are still picking and choosing here. Whether others like you or not is another matter. Then Onoki's words surprised the two of them. Kuretsuchi, I want you to marry Konoha's fourth Hokage Minato Namikaze, are you willing? Grandpa, how can you do this? Kuretsuchi said anxiously. How can she marry him when she hasn't even met him? Yes, father, we won't marry Kuretsuchi off, right? Even if Minato Namikaze is very strong. Yellow Earth also spoke. Onoki listened to the two people's speeches and shook his head helplessly, saying, you are still too young. Then he took out a letter from his bosom. You will know why I made such a decision after reading it. The two took the letter and read it without knowing why. The more they read, the more frightened they were. It was because the letter said that Minato suppressed the one-tailed Shukaku. Then he killed the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen and the leader of the root, Shimura Danzo. That was not all. Udatane Kaharu and Mito Kato En were killed instantly by Minato Namikaze. You should know that both of them were cage-level masters. Then they looked down and their scalps tingled. Sarutobi, Mito, and Udatane clan were slaughtered overnight. As for the Shimura clan, it was because of Shimura Danzo's pleading and the Shimura clan's submission to Minato Namikaze that they made an exception and did not exterminate the Shimura clan. But how could they know? The reason why Minato let the Shimura clan go was because he had signed in Danzo with the Mangekyo Sharingan and the cells of the first Hokage. That's why he let the Shimura clan off without exterminating them. After reading the letter, the two shuddered all over, feeling that this Namikaze Minato was a devil, actually exterminating the clan. You know, the three families together have nearly 2,000 people. They were all exterminated. Seeing this, Onoki smiled and said, do you know why I said that? Wangtu heard this. Then why don't we take advantage of Konoha's weakness to attack Konoha, but let Kuretsuchi marry to Konoha? Quote. When Kuretsuchi saw his father asking questions, he simply didn't speak and just listened quietly. Onoki looked at his son with an idiot look. Kuretsuchi, who was standing by, was very smart and noticed that his grandfather's eyes were a little wrong and his face was not very good. He quickly pulled his father and signaled him not to speak. After a long time, Wangtu stopped and saw his father looking at him with an idiot look. He sighed helplessly and said, Wangtu, you are still young. Seeing Wangtu's confused look, quote, still slowly explained, think about it, why do you say we know the deaths of Konoha Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo and the two Hokage advisors? Without waiting for the two to speak, he continued. Also, the Sarutobi, Mito and Udatane clans were all exterminated. If it was us who did it, would we leak such a confidential matter? Hearing this, Kuretsuchi's eyes rolled around, and suddenly he slapped his thigh and said, I know. Quote. The two looked at Kuretsuchi curiously, wanting to see what Kuretsuchi knew. Then he said, if we did something like exterminating the clan, we would never let other villages know, let alone announce it loudly in the village. Onoki smiled and said, well said, continue. Kuretsuchi saw that what he said was affirmed by his grandfather, so he continued. I think it should be Namikaze Minato who controlled other Konoha families and Konoha Anbu ninjas. Onoki on the side nodded slowly and said, well said, but there is another possibility, that is, Namikaze Minato did not suffer any injuries or was only slightly injured in the battle with Sarutobi Hiruzen and others. The two were even more scalp-numbing after hearing this, and they couldn't believe it. One person monopolized 4 cage-level strongmen without suffering any injuries. How strong is this strength? The most terrifying thing is that he killed all 4 of them. Huangtu and Kuroto were stunned when they heard their grandfather's words. If it weren't for their grandfather's analysis, they would have foolishly thought that Konoha village was extremely weak now. It seems that all this was done by the 4th generation Hokage Minato Namikaze. On the one hand, it was to announce that Minato Namikaze had returned to the ninja world, and on the other hand, he had the absolute strength to suppress any invading enemy, so he was fearless in spreading these news, waiting for the guy who didn't understand the situation to fall into the trap. Seeing this, Onoki continued. He is fishing. See that simple-minded, well-developed guy dares to attack Konoha village. After all, with his strength, in the current ninja world, except for the shadow-level strongmen of several major ninja villages. I'm afraid no one can be his opponent. But what Onoki didn't know was that the shadow-level strongmen were just bigger ants in the eyes of Minato Namikaze. Hearing that her grandfather spoke so highly of Minato Namikaze, Kuretsuchi was so surprised that she couldn't speak, and she covered her cherry mouth with a pair of white jade-like hands. Then she asked, "What does Minato Namikaze look like?" Onoki looked at her granddaughter in surprise, and laughed. "You really ask the right person this question. Handsome. He must be handsome." Before Kuretsuchi could speak, Onoki said, "Let me tell you this. In my opinion, there are only two men who are both powerful and good-looking." When he said this, Onoki cleared his throat and said, "One is the legendary ninja world Shiro Uchiha Madara, and the other is the famous Golden Flash Minato Namikaze in the Third Ninja World War." Quote. When talking about Uchiha Madara, a trace of memory emerged in Onoki's deep eyes. He remembered that it was when he was young. At that time, he was still very weak. He was not the third-generation Tsuchikage of Iwagakure who is now high and mighty. He was just a disciple of his teacher, the second-generation Tsuchikage. When he first arrived in Konoha, he saw a tall and slender man with an extremely handsome appearance, exuding an arrogant and cold aura. What is unforgettable is that in addition to this domineering aura, there is also a pair of scarlet Mangekyo Sharingan. At that time, Uchiha Madara only glanced at him, and he was like a little white rabbit meeting a big bad wolf. No, it should be said that he was a tiger. He lost the courage to fight. When he thought he was going to die, Uchiha Madara let him go. Onoki still remembers what Uchiha Madara said to him that year. "Have you ever seen an adult who will fight a child seriously?" Quote. "Grandpa, what's wrong with you?" At this time, the girl's sweet and pleasant voice interrupted Onoki, who was reminiscing. Onoki smiled slightly when he heard it. It was nothing, just recalling some old memories. Then he looked at his granddaughter with a smile and said, "What do you think of this matter?" Kuretsuchi was stunned for a moment and then his face turned a little red. Quote. Then he said, "Grandpa, I don't have any opinion on this matter, but I don't know whether the fourth Hokage is willing or not." Onoki's smile froze on his old face when he heard it. "Yes, enjoy the future here, whether he is willing or not is another matter." Immediately reacted and said, "What's the matter, let alone his wife is dead? Even if she is not dead, we can do the same. He has a son." Quote. He glanced at his granddaughter, wondering if she was willing or not. But Kuretsuchi said nonchalantly, "What's the big deal? The man I'm going to marry is the fourth Hokage. What does that have to do with his son? Besides, the fourth Hokage may not even like me." Quote. In another place surrounded by the sea, there is a country called the Land of Water. A woman with a curvy figure sits in the position of Mizukage. She is Maid Terumi, who has just succeeded the position of the fifth-generation Mizukage. She is also a very rare beauty. The emerald green eyes flickered slightly, as if containing a pool of spring water. The long curly red-brown hair shone brightly under the sunlight. The pink cherry mouth was full of attractive luster. The blue tube dress wrapped the moving body. The melon seed cheeks were very beautiful, the skin was as soft as frost and snow, and the figure was slender. I saw her pair of white and slender jade hands, looking at the information in her hands, and slowly frowned her beautiful eyebrows. She bit her red lips lightly with her pearly teeth, and her breathing became more and more rapid. Looking at the information in her hand, she asked the flat-headed young ninja next to her, "Chojuro, do you think this information is true or false?" "This is too incredible. Minato Namikaze, who died more than 10 years ago, was resurrected at this time. It is said that he was resurrected by Orochimaru, the rebel ninja of Konoha village, using a forbidden technique. It seems that the ninja world is about to change. It is said that Namikaze Minato also killed the Konoha elders, headed by the third-generation Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen of Konoha village. It is rumored that Namikaze Minato also slaughtered Sarutobi Mito and Taiden, the families of Changjuro." Then he said, "Do we want it?" Maid Terumi heard this and glanced at Changjuro with her beautiful eyes, and the latter immediately shut up. Then Maid Terumi said, "I understand what you said. Have you ever thought about other villages?" Chojuro was stunned when he heard this. Then Maid Terumi looked at Chojuro and said, "We are surrounded by the sea and can get such information. Do you think other ninja villages have not obtained such information?" Let's see the actions of other major ninja villages first. The leader of the Sand Village, Maki, reported everything that happened in Konoha village this time when he returned to the village. Ebizang and Chiyo heard that their fourth-generation Kazekage Rasa was killed by the rebel ninja Orochimaru of Konoha village. Suddenly, the old man's face became gloomy. This Orochimaru. Ebizang cursed viciously. Then she talked about the resurrection of Minato Namikaze and the battle with the one-tail Shukaku, and even crushed the one-tail Shukaku. Tamari thought that Chiyo and Ebizo would be surprised, but unexpectedly, there was no reaction on their faces. Then Chiyo said, "We already know what you said, I wonder if you three know." Now the ninja world is talking about the resurrection of the fourth-generation Hokage of Konoha with Golden Flash, and he also killed Sarutobi Hiruzen, Shimura Danzo, Udatane Kaharu, and Mito Kato En. Then she did something inhumane. Tamari and the other two were stunned when they heard what happened. Ebizo saw that his sister didn't mean to talk. So he took over and said, Namikaze Minato exterminated the Sarutobi clan, the Utain clan and the Mito clan, leaving only the Shimura clan that was not exterminated. It seems that the reason is that the current head of the Shimura clan, Shimura Danzo, begged Namikaze Minato to let the Shimura clan go before his death, and finally swore that the Shimura clan would be loyal to Namikaze Minato, so he chose to let the Shimura clan go. Kankuro, Tamari and the other two heard that they exterminated the entire clan. Is this something that people can do? When they said this, the voices of the three people were trembling, especially Tamari, because she didn't expect that the fourth-generation Hokage who looked sunny and handsome would do such a hot thing. Then Tamari looked at the grandmother Chiyo in front of her and said, "What should we do now?" Grandma Chiyo's face was gloomy, and she slowly said, "There is no other way now, the most urgent task is to elect the fifth-generation Kazekage." Everyone was delighted when they heard what Chiyo said. Then Maki said excitedly, "Why not let Elder Chiyo succeed as the fifth Kazekage?" Seeing this, Ebizo on the side also said hurriedly, "Yes. Sister, why don't you succeed as the fifth Kazekage?" Tamari saw that both of them supported Chiyo to become the fifth Kazekage. She was weak and had no other options. Thinking of this, she bit her red lips and said, "Please let Elder Chiyo serve as the fifth Kazekage." Chiyo was a little surprised to hear Tamari say this. She was not surprised that Ebizo and Maki recommended her as the fifth Kazekage. Not only was she the strongest in the Sand Village, she was also the oldest in the Sand Village. But Tamari's recommendation of herself was a little intriguing, but Chiyo believed that Tamari would not do anything that was detrimental to the Sand Village. Chiyo slowly turned around and looked at everyone. Ebizo and Sand Village Ninja Maki smiled when they saw this, but the next sentence froze their smiles on their old faces. "I have a better candidate. I suggest that Gaara be the fifth Kazekage." The two of them froze their smiles on their faces when they heard this, and asked in confusion, "Why? Sister Gaara is still young. How old is he? He is only 15 years old. How can this be possible?" Ebizo said anxiously when he heard this. Chiyo heard her brother say this and smiled at her younger brother who never grew up and said, "You are still too young." Ebizo's old face turned green when he heard his sister say this. "What do you mean he is still young? He is already over 50 years old." Then, without waiting for everyone to speak, he continued, "What's wrong with being 15 years old? Have you forgotten that there was another person who became famous in the ninja world in addition to the Golden Flash Namikaze Minato during the Third Ninja World War?" Ebizo touched his chin with one hand and thought about it. After a while, he slapped his thigh and said, "I remember now. You are talking about the genius ninja of the Uchiha clan, Shisui, who was as famous as Konoha's Golden Flash Namikaze Minato during the Third Ninja World War. He used the instant body technique to perfection." Hearing his brother say the name of Uchiha Shisui, he nodded slightly and said, "It is understood that Uchiha Shisui was just a 10-year-old kid when he participated in the Third Ninja World War. Now Tamari is 15 years old, so how can he not be the fifth-generation Kazekage?" Hearing his sister say that, Ebizo sighed and said nothing because he knew that it was useless to say anything more. Chiyo seemed to see that her brother was a little depressed, and then smiled and said, "Don't you and I still assist Gaara?" Seeing this, Ebizo waved his hand and said, "In this case, Gaara will be the fifth Kazekage." Everyone in the Hokage's office in Konoha village sat in their respective seats. Minato saw that everyone who should be there had arrived, so he started to talk about business. Yuhi Kurenai, you and Kakashi will be responsible for contacting Daming in the future. This is your task. Yes, Yuhi Kurenai quickly stood up and answered after hearing this. Then Kakashi looked absent-minded, and Hyuga Hiyashi beside him hurriedly tugged at the corner of Kakashi's clothes. Kakashi came back to his senses and quickly said to Minato Namikaze, I'm sorry, Hokage. Minato smiled and didn't care. Seeing that Kakashi had something to say, he smiled and said, just say it. Then Kakashi came out of his seat and knelt on one knee in front of many tribe leaders of Konoha village and said, please let me join the Anbu, Hokage. Minato looked at Kakashi in surprise and couldn't help but complain in his heart that Kakashi was so brave. I remember that when I watched Naruto anime in my previous life, I didn't see Kakashi so brave. This should be the real Kakashi. Looking at Kakashi, Minato shook his head helplessly and said to Kakashi, you sit back first. I have my own considerations for this matter. Kakashi responded and then walked back to his original seat. Everyone couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when they saw Kakashi walking back safely. After all, Kakashi was the first person who dared to directly refuse the Hokage's order. Namikaze Minato sighed and couldn't help complaining in his heart. When I watched Naruto in my previous life, I felt that Kakashi was holding a love paradise in his hand every day. I really don't know how to deal with it when he gets angry. Could it be that Kakashi always solves it with his hands? Originally, Minato had a selfish motive to let Kakashi and Yuhi Kurenai perform the mission together. He was close to the water and got the moon first. After all, Kakashi is better looking than Sarutobi Asuma. The two of them, are you afraid that you won't develop feelings after 2 visits? Second, Kakashi is his disciple, one of the few people he can trust in Konoha village. In addition, Kakashi has a sense of belonging to Konoha, and he is the most suitable person to be responsible for connecting with Daming and supporting the capital chain. In terms of strength, not weak, and there is no need to worry about any danger. As for Yuhi Kurenai, the Yuhi family, as an old family in Konoha village, would not betray the village so easily. Originally, I arranged Kakashi to go there just to see what Daming's attitude is, and to see if Daming has any tricks. But it doesn't matter. What makes Minato headache is that he doesn't know who to send. For a while, he didn't know who to find. Just then, a voice as beautiful and pleasant as a yellow oriole sounded. If Minato can't do it, let me go. Minato was slightly stunned when he heard this, and then slowly raised his head to look at Rukia in front of him with a caring face. At this time, all the clan leaders and elite jonin of Konoha present were curiously looking at this short, delicate and lovely girl, wanting to see what she had to say. Namikaze Minato pondered and asked, your spiritual pressure has recovered, can you use your Bankai? Rukia nodded slightly, okay, then you and Kurenai Yuhi go. Just as Rukia was about to leave, Minato grabbed Rukia's hand. Because it was pulled too suddenly, Rukia fell directly into Minato's arms. Minato felt the soft touch on his legs and chest, and he felt hot all over. At this time, Uzumaki Naruto, who was watching the show, felt that everyone looked at his father a little strangely, and couldn't help but interrupt his father's good deeds. Ahem. The two were awakened by the cough, and Rukia was like a frightened deer, hurriedly tidying up her messy dress. Minato was a little embarrassed. If his eldest son hadn't reminded him today, he might have directly hit Rukia's cherry mouth. This was not a big deal. The important thing was that there were a lot of spectators here. This was a bit unreasonable, and then he took out a special kunai. It has Flying Thunder God vertical style printed on it. Take it, I can rush over if you are in danger. Rukia nodded slightly on her blushing face, then took the special kunai and Yuhi Kurenai and walked out. Minato felt that there was nothing to do, so he asked others to go back first. Minato was about to go home, and the pleasant voice of the system elf came to his mind. Found the target Jiraiya who can sign in. Minato was slightly stunned when he heard the words, and then looked around carefully, and saw Jiraiya lying on the wall of a female bathhouse peeping at women taking a bath. Sign in, Minato silently said. Sign in his heart, ding, congratulations to the host for signing in successfully and getting a special reward. Minato was slightly stunned when he heard it. It turned out that it was not a critical hit reward, but a special reward that was better than a critical hit reward. Minato looked at it expectantly, and saw a golden ball of light merge into his body, and then nothing happened. Minato looked at the system elf with a confused face and asked, "System, explain to me what's going on, where is my reward?" The system elf curled his lips and said, "Didn't I give it to you?" Minato was even more confused when he heard it. "Gave it to me? When did you give it to me?" At this time, the system elf flipped his beautiful eyes helplessly, and explained to Namikaze, "Minato, the reward you got is a title. This is a special skill." Minato understood a little after hearing this. What is this special skill of the system? The system elf heard it directly, clapped his hands, and a virtual panel appeared in front of Minato. It was written on it, "Friends of Women," followed by a detailed introduction. It was written on it, "Friends of Women, the attractiveness to women between 15 and 40 years old increased by 50%. Even though Minato was calm, he couldn't help but burst out with a swear word. "System, are you trying to make trouble?" The system elf smiled playfully and said, "Hee hee, you are taking advantage of me." Minato heard the rogue speech of the system, shook his head, and sighed helplessly. This is his own system. He can only do this and spoil it. Minato saw that the system elf no longer paid attention to him, so he simply opened the system mall, looked at the expensive skills, weapons, etc., and looked at his only sign-in points, 50 points. If he hadn't just signed in with the lustful sage Jiraiya and got more than 10 points, he would only have 40 points now. Can't afford anything except the Sharingan. Thinking of this, Minato couldn't help but think of Tsunade, one of the 3 ninjas. I don't know what kind of surprises she will bring to him. Exiting the system space, Minato looked at Jiraiya, who was still peeping at the women's bathhouse. Although Minato stayed in the system space for so long, only a few seconds had passed in the outside world. Minato disappeared in a flash, and when he reappeared, he was already beside Jiraiya. Jiraiya, who was busy watching the beautiful woman bathing, of course did not notice the arrival of Minato Namikaze. Of course, Jiraiya did not notice Minato Namikaze, which also shows that Jiraiya's awareness of prevention is relatively low now. That's right. After all, this is in his own village. Who would be on guard all the time? In that case, he would be exhausted before the enemy makes a move. But don't think that Jiraiya is a weakling. He did not notice Minato Namikaze because Minato Namikaze's strength is higher than Jiraiya's now. In addition, Minato Namikaze deliberately concealed his chakra aura, which led to Jiraiya not noticing that Minato Namikaze had arrived next to him. At this time, Minato Namikaze saw that he had come to Jiraiya's side, and Jiraiya still looked like an old pervert. He couldn't help but make comments. "Tisk, this butt is so perky, this nipple is so big, I can't help it, I really want to touch it myself. No, I am Jiraiya, the Toad Sage, how can I do such a thing?" Jiraiya said to himself, this must be written into his latest novel, Perseverance Ninja Biography. After all, such a subject is not easy to find. As for his own intimate paradise, I will continue to write it later. Minato heard Jiraiya's self-talk and couldn't help but smile helplessly. Jiraiya is really an out-and-out old pervert like in the original work. Minato immediately had the idea of teasing Jiraiya, so he asked, "Do you want to touch it?" Jiraiya was immersed in the beauty and couldn't extricate himself, and subconsciously answered, "Of course I do." He immediately reacted and looked at the person who was talking to him. He was shocked. How did Minato come here? Thinking of the words he had just said, he couldn't help but complain in his heart, when did this guy Minato come here? Did Minato hear all the words he said just now? Even Jiraiya, a senior old pervert, couldn't help but blush and feel embarrassed. Minato couldn't help but feel funny when he saw Jiraiya like this. A powerful shadow-level warrior would actually blush at the sight of a woman. So he said, "Teacher Jiraiya, long time no see." Jiraiya couldn't believe that the person standing in front of him was Minato Namikaze, so he tried to say, "Minato, you were really resurrected." Minato was a little helpless when he heard this, but he still nodded slightly and said, "Yes, Teacher Jiraiya, I am really resurrected." Although Jiraiya came to Konoha village when Orochimaru and the third generation were fighting, he just hid in the dark. How did Minato he knew who came out? It was just that when Orochimaru was fighting with his teacher, the old man of the third generation, he wanted to help the third generation, but he didn't expect that Minato would turn against Orochimaru and help the third generation to repel Orochimaru. In the next few days, Jiraiya did not leave Konoha village because of Minato's resurrection, so he stayed in Konoha village to observe the situation and guard against sneak attacks from other ninja villages. However, what he didn't expect was that Minato not only resurrected, but also killed his teacher, the old man of the third generation, Sarutobi Hiruzen, Shimura Danzo and 4 others with thunder-like means. He even used the means of extermination to make the families of Sarutobi, Mito, and Udatane disappear completely in the ninja world overnight. At that time, Jiraiya wanted to stand up to stop it, but then he thought about what qualifications he had to stop Minato. On the night of the 9-tailed fox, he was away as a teacher, and his disciple's child should have been the son of a hero, but he became a monster and a demon fox in the mouth of the common people of Konoha. Is it the identity of a teacher? Don't joke. As a teacher, apart from bringing Minato to Myoboku Mountain to learn fairy arts and signing a contract with him, it seems that there is nothing else that he has given Minato. He was the one who shamelessly asked his student for advice on the Rasengan. Haha, Minato, what do you want to talk to me about? Jiraiya said with a laugh. Minato looked at Jiraiya in surprise and said, Teacher, are you sure you want me to say it here? Jiraiya suddenly reacted and said, Yes, you are right. Why can't we do it here? It will be bad if someone finds out. Just as the two were talking. Ah! A scream scared the two of them, and they saw a group of women rushing out in bath towels, shouting, There is a pervert. Catch the pervert. Namikaze Minato couldn't help but swear when he saw this. Then he pulled Jiraiya's arm with one hand, performed Flying Thunder God and returned to the Hokage's office. Jiraiya saw his familiar Hokage's office and sat down on the sofa next to him. I was so scared that I was almost caught by those gossipers. If it weren't for Minato, I would have to run away today. Minato was very upset when he saw this. Teacher Jiraiya, you don't care. You are fine. It's not the first time or the second time that you have been discovered and regarded as a pervert. But do you know that I almost died because of you today? I am the 4th generation Hokage of Konoha village. If someone finds out that I, the 4th generation Hokage of Konoha village, peeped into the female bathhouse with you, my reputation will be ruined. Jiraiya, who was standing by, knew that he was in the wrong when he saw Minato Namikaze saying this, and he quickly apologized with a smile. Sorry Minato, you know, this is my only hobby. I am also doing this for writing material, right? Originally, I didn't want to care, but I couldn't help but ask, that Minato. Did you kill the old man and Danzo? Minato raised his eyebrows and looked at Jiraiya and said, Yes, it was me who killed them. Although Jiraiya knew that Minato killed Sarutobi Hiruzen and the Konoha elders, it was still a little unbelievable to hear it in person. Because in his impression, Minato admired the old man very much, otherwise Sarutobi Hiruzen would not have let Minato become the 4th generation Hokage. Minato, why did you become like this? Jiraiya's voice sounded faintly. Minato's smile remained unchanged upon hearing this, and he slowly spoke. Teacher Jiraiya, time is passing, everything around is changing, and people are no exception, right? Jiraiya nodded slightly upon hearing Minato's words and continued, That's true. But Minato, there is one thing I don't understand, can you tell me? Minato was somewhat helpless upon hearing this. Teacher Jiraiya, don't you know all these things? And is there something in the ninja world that you don't know? Jiraiya shook his head upon hearing this, and said, That's not what I'm asking about, I know all these, I just don't understand, since you have already killed the old man and Shimura Danzo and the others. Why did you choose? Why didn't he exterminate the Sarutobi clan, the Mito clan, and the Udatane clan? Instead of choosing to subdue the other 3 major clans like he did with the Shimura clan. Quote. Namikaze Minato was a little surprised when he heard this and didn't understand why Jiraiya said this. Minato did not respond to Jiraiya's words but said, I wonder if you have ever heard such a saying, Jiraiya. Jiraiya was stunned when he heard this and asked subconsciously, What did you say? Minato looked at him and said slowly, If you don't remove the roots, they will grow again in the spring breeze. If I don't kill them, they will kill me. Jiraiya continued to say, Then you are not afraid of other ninja villages joining forces to attack Konoha? Minato smiled and glanced at the white-haired middle-aged man in front of him, and said with a smile, Aren't you, one of the 3 ninjas, the Toad Sage, still here? Jiraiya heard some of Minato's jokes and said speechlessly, facing the shadow-level strongmen of other ninja villages, I can barely hold back too. As for the others, it depends on you. At this time, the smile on Minato's face gradually faded, his voice was as cold as the winter wind, and a hint of coldness flashed in his eyes. He said in a cold voice, if they dare to come, I will kill them all here. Jiraiya was a little stunned by Minato's arrogant words, and before he could speak, he heard Minato's voice again. But you don't have to worry, Jiraiya, they are just a bunch of rabble, they can't make any waves. Jiraiya came back to his senses and looked at his disciple in disbelief, wanting to say something. But in the end, he didn't know what he remembered or put the words back in his stomach. He knew that his disciple would never do anything without confidence, even if it really happened as Minato said. As a teacher, he would fight to the death for Konoha this time, and he would not let anyone who came to attack go. Jiraiya made a secret decision in his heart. Then he looked at Minato and asked, tell me, what do you want to talk to me about? Minato smiled warmly and said slowly, Teacher Jiraiya, I want to ask you to teach Naruto for a while. Jiraiya said, yes, but wouldn't it be better for you, as a father, to teach in person? Minato said helplessly, as a Hokage, I have things to do until late every day. Where can I find time to teach Naruto to learn ninjutsu? Jiraiya rolled his eyes and complained in his heart. I don't have time. I'm busy looking for writing materials. How can I have time? But on the surface, he still said, so you're targeting me. Minato said, I know I'm in the wrong, so I smiled and said, Teacher Jiraiya, help me teach Naruto to practice, and you will go home with me tonight, and I will cook 2 specialties for you. Jiraiya's eyes lit up slightly when he heard this. Minato's cooking skills are very good. Since Minato died, I have never eaten the food cooked by Minato again. So I said, okay, since you are so sincere, I agree. Then he walked out and did not forget to remind him before leaving, remember to invite me to your house for dinner tonight. Minato sighed helplessly and said, what's going on? Remember that in the original work, Jiraiya did not take the initiative to find Naruto. Why did it become a dinner party when it came to me? And I remember that in the original work, during this period of time, Jiraiya should have been traveling in other major countries to collect materials. How did he come back to Konoha village? Could it be that in my previous life, I saw a fake Naruto is impossible? I am a time traveler, I know whether it is a fake Naruto world or not. This is most likely the butterfly effect caused by my time travel, yes, it must be like this. Thinking of this, Minato's face showed a solemn look. If this is true, the advantage of knowing the plot well will be gone. Thinking of this, Namikaze Minato felt, my power is not strong enough, if my power is strong enough. It doesn't matter whether there is a plot or not, because any conspiracy and tricks are so pale and powerless in front of absolute strength. However, I have the assistance of the system, and it is still very easy for me to improve my strength. In fact, it is not Minato's fault that he is so cautious. Minato is a time traveler and he knows more than anyone else in the ninja world. Thinking of this, Minato sighed and let everything go with the flow. On the other side, Jiraiya found Naruto who was training in the training ground and said, boy, you are Uzumaki Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto saw a tall and burly man with white hair falling to his waist, a forehead protector with oil on his head, and red marks under his eyes. He was wearing a red coat, brown clothes inside the coat, wooden clogs on his feet, and armor-like equipment on his hands. Naruto looked at the middle-aged man who was about 50 years old and asked, Uncle, what do you want to find Uzumaki Naruto? I was asked by the 4th Hokage Minato Namikaze to find him. Jiraiya looked at the blonde kid in front of him and said. Naruto heard this and said, Uncle, I am Uzumaki Naruto. What does my father want you to find me for? Jiraiya certainly knew Naruto. He didn't expose Naruto directly just now because he wanted to see if the child had any awareness of defense against people he didn't know. Jiraiya was not satisfied with Naruto's performance just now, but it was okay, at least he was not as stupid as he looked on the surface. Then Jiraiya began to introduce himself. Listen, Naruto, I am Jiraiya, the Toad Sage, one of the 3 ninjas. Naruto was stunned when he heard it, and then he reacted and became a little excited. Although he had never seen Jiraiya, He had seen Orochimaru. Jiraiya was actually one of the 3 ninjas like Orochimaru. In fact, in Naruto's mind, he still wanted his father to call him ninjutsu the most. After all, what about Orochimaru? Wasn't the 3rd generation of Hokage, the strongest Hokage in history, killed by his father? But Naruto also knew in his heart that his father was the 4th generation Hokage of Konoha village, so he didn't have so much time to teach him ninjutsu. His father had mentioned at home before that he would find a teacher to teach him ninjutsu. Jiraiya on the side saw Naruto in a daze and couldn't help but say, "Naruto, you should know that this sage is Minato's teacher." Naruto couldn't help but ask, "Really? Of course it's true, I learned the Rasengan from your father." Naruto on the side was slightly stunned when he heard this, and asked uncertainly, "What did you say just now? You just said that you learned the Rasengan from my father." At this time, Jiraiya quickly covered his mouth, realizing that he had just said the wrong thing, and hurriedly laughed and said, "Did I say that? You must have heard it wrong." Naruto wanted to say something else when he heard this, but was interrupted by Jiraiya on the side. "Okay. Stop talking, it's time to talk about business." He didn't dare let Naruto continue, because he was afraid that if he continued, he would not be able to make it up. If this gets out, he, as a teacher, has to ask his students for ninjutsu. How embarrassing it would be to tell others. Doesn't Jiraiya, the Toad Sage, have any face? Jiraiya stretched out a hand with a serious face, and the wind attribute chakra in his body was running fast. A wind attribute chakra ball slowly appeared in the palm of his hand. With the injection of chakra, the chakra ball quickly grew larger, and there were blue cyclones surrounding it. Naruto was surprised and said, "Is this the ninjutsu used by my father when fighting Orochimaru?" Jiraiya saw Naruto's expression and felt very satisfied. "I can't cure you." The success of pretending to be cool in front of Naruto made Jiraiya feel very satisfied. Because of Minato's resurrection, Naruto did not become Uzumaki Naruto with blonde twin tails in order to practice with Jiraiya like in the original work. You can try to use the clone to help you condense the Rasengan. Naruto was about to use the shadow clone to help himself after hearing this. Suddenly, an idea came to him. It turned out that Naruto remembered that time when he fought Orochimaru. He used the 9 tails chakra to condense 2 chakra claws. Thinking of this, Naruto activated the 9 tails chakra in his body. At the same time, the 9 tails noticed that his chakra was decreasing at a very slow speed. Although it was very small, the 9 tails still noticed it. At this time, Kushina also woke up after noticing the abnormality of the 9 tails and appeared next to the 9 tails. Her beautiful and delicate face asked with a hint of confusion, "What happened?" The 9 tails answered, "It's not a big deal. Naruto was practicing ninjutsu, and then the man and the fox saw Jiraiya through Naruto's perspective." Of course, Kushina and the 9 tails knew, after all, Jiraiya was Minato's teacher. They were also very familiar with Jiraiya decades ago. At this time, Kyuubi saw this scene and couldn't help saying, "Kushina, it can be seen that Minato is really good to Naruto. Look, he even found Jiraiya, one of the 3 ninjas." Kyuubi's words became solemn, "But I didn't expect. Minato has become so decisive and murderous, not like him at all." "Is that right? No matter who has experienced such a thing, they will become disheartened. My wife and I died to seal the monster of me, and the only child of me and my wife suffered such unfair treatment. It is indeed true when I think about it." Just when Kyuubi was still talking to himself, a pleasant and melodious female voice came. "Don't think about it, he is no longer the previous Minato is dead. There is something strange about Minato's resurrection this time, didn't you notice it?" Uzumaki Kushina said seriously. The 9 tails was stunned when he heard it, and the furry fox had a puzzled look on his face. Uzumaki Kushina looked at the 9 tails with a look of concern for a mentally retarded child. He suddenly understood why the 9 tails was sealed in the Jinchuriki. If it weren't for its strong strength, it would have been eaten up by others long ago. Then Uzumaki Kushina said, "Everyone has overlooked a little bit, was Minato really resurrected by Orochimaru?" Kyuubi said with some disdain. "Didn't you see it? Wasn't he resurrected by that guy called Orochimaru using forbidden techniques?" Kushina was a little speechless but still said, I'm talking about the real resurrection, not the resurrection of the impure world reincarnation. Kyuubi's lantern-sized eyes widened slightly when he heard this, then he looked around and made sure that there was no one around and said, "What you want to say is how Minato was resurrected." Kushina heard that Kyuubi was finally right this time and gave Kyuubi an approving look. That look was like saying, "This kid is teachable." Quote. Of course, with Kyuubi's worrying IQ, it couldn't see anything, and it just thought that Uzumaki Kushina was praising it. Kyuubi looked very proud, and she was speechless. "I just praised you and you still gasped." Kyuubi, who was getting too proud of himself, lowered his head immediately when he saw Uzumaki Kushina say this, just like a primary school student who made a mistake. If someone saw Kyuubi like this, they would definitely be shocked. This is the head of the tailed beasts that terrified the ninja world. He was so well behaved in front of Uzumaki Kushina like a child. The main reason why Kyuubi was like this was that he was afraid of Minato Namikaze, because he felt the threat of death from Minato Namikaze's attack. It was a fear that went deep into the soul. It felt that Minato Namikaze could really kill it, the kind that will never be resurrected. On the other hand, it also admires Uzumaki Kushina's intelligence. After so many years of getting along, it didn't know that Uzumaki Kushina had such a clever intelligence and scheming. You must know that when Kushina was 15 years old, with the death of Uzumaki Mito, it was natural for the nine-tailed fox to change to a new residence. That is, in the body of Uzumaki Kushina. It can be said that it is very clear from the acquaintance of Uzumaki Kushina and Namikaze Minato to their love. You must know that no matter what Uzumaki Kushina faces, she always looks careless, and is called blood red pepper by her classmates. Now it seems that it is just a means for Uzumaki Kushina to protect herself. Uzumaki Kushina found that the nine-tailed fox was in a daze and couldn't help shouting, "What are you doing again?" Hearing this, the nine-tailed fox put its huge claws behind its head, scratched its head and said, "Kushina, go on, I'm listening here." Quote. Kushina smiled helplessly at this, and then fell into thought. Kyuubi was watching Uzumaki Kushina from the side, waiting for the next words. After a while, Uzumaki Kushina said, "I have two doubts. First, when Minato sealed you, did he use the Shikifujin to drag the other part of you into the belly of the god of death?" Including Minato's soul, Kyuubi nodded slightly when he heard this, and then thought of the weakness when he split, and couldn't help sighing. Uzumaki Kushina heard Kyuubi's affirmative answer. "It confirms the guess in my heart." For some reason, the more she guessed the result, the more excited Uzumaki Kushina was. Then he continued, "By the way, have you seen the ninjutsu used by Minato?" Kyuubi was slightly stunned when he heard this, but still shook his head. Uzumaki Kushina rolled her eyes and continued, "Have you seen the weapon in Minato's hand?" Quote. Kyuubi didn't shake his head like he did last time when he heard this, but said, "I have lived for 1,000 years and have never seen such a weapon." Uzumaki Kushina sighed when she saw the Nine Tails say this. In fact, she herself knew that it was useless to ask the Nine Tails. After all, such a weapon was too powerful and was not something that the ninja world could possess. Don't forget the so-called third Hokage, Shimura Danzo and Sarutobi Hiruzen, although they are not the strongest among the cage-level strongmen. But they are not weak. Even for Uzumaki Kushina, if she doesn't use the Nine Tails chakra, it would be very difficult for her to face one of them alone. After all, although the two of them are old, Shimura Danzo has the cells of the first Hokage. There are also 3 Magatama Sharingan on his arms, not to mention that there is a Mangekyo Sharingan in his left eye. Not to mention the third Hokage, who has 5 attributes of chakra attributes and is proficient in various ninjutsu and compound ninjutsu, such as the signature ninjutsu of the 3 ninjas, the Dalianton technique. Such an enemy was killed so easily by Minato, and even the strongest ninjutsu that the two of them performed together was broken by Minato's unmarked ninjutsu. Then he appeared behind the two of them, swung a knife, and the destructive power caused by the flames mixed on it was even more powerful than the ninjutsu performed by the third-generation Hokage and Shimura Danzo together. All these things showed suspicion. After all, in Uzumaki Kushina's impression, Minato was not that strong. After all, Minato definitely didn't have so many powerful unmarked ninjutsu, otherwise he and Minato would not have died that year. Another point that aroused Uzumaki Kushina's suspicion was that Minato said he came from hell, because the Uzumaki clan was an expert in playing various sealing techniques. Although Uzumaki Kushina had never used the taboo of Shiki Fujin, as the little princess of the Uzumaki clan, she still knew something about this ninjutsu of mutual destruction. So if no one goes to retrieve the mask of the god of death, and someone is needed as a sacrifice, the person wearing the mask will cut open his stomach. When the sacrifice cuts open his stomach, the god of death will release the soul sealed in his body. Uzumaki Kushina also thought about whether it was Orochimaru, but soon overturned it. Because it is too troublesome to revive Minato. The main reason is that the ninjutsu used by Minato is too shocking. As Minato's bedside person, how can she not understand Minato? And with Minato's character of considering the overall situation, even if he is angry, he will not kill the third-generation Hokage and the Konoha elders. And exterminate them. So Uzumaki Kushina knew that this person was definitely not Minato, but when she saw Naruto was so happy in front of Minato, she could also watch her son grow up slowly in this way, and then get married and have children. It seems not bad. Thinking of this, Uzumaki Kushina suddenly felt that it was not so important whether this was the original Minato. Because he also knew that the current Minato's body did belong to Minato, but his soul was another person. But none of this mattered, as long as he could be good to his son. Thinking of this, Uzumaki Kushina's face showed a peerless smile. A pair of beautiful autumn water eyes were tender and tender, like a spring water that moved the heartstrings. Even the Nine Tails couldn't help but secretly complain when seeing Uzumaki Kushina at this moment. This woman was more beautiful than before, less indifferent and more agile than before. No wonder Namikaze Minato was so obsessed with her, but it was a pity that he was a fox and was not interested in women. On the other side, Naruto used the Nine Tails chakra to condense a super large Rasengan with a diameter of 3 meters. Jiraiya, who was watching the show, was stunned. Is this still a Rasengan? This is the tailed beast ball, which is more or less the same, but what makes people curious is that the Rasengan should be blue, but why is it red? At this time, Jiraiya on the side jumped up. Isn't this the Nine Tails chakra? At this time, Jiraiya noticed that the 2 Nine Tails chakra claws used by Naruto were holding up this blood-red Rasengan. He asked in disbelief, Naruto, you have mastered the Nine Tails chakra. Naruto smiled and said, of course. I don't know why, since my dad helped me defeat the Nine Tails, I feel that the chakra in my body is much easier to control. Jiraiya heard the words and said, it's Minato. Naruto was a little tired from training, but he was no longer tired when he heard this. He enthusiastically told Jiraiya about Minato's glorious achievements, and also told Jiraiya how Minato defeated the Nine Tails with a few moves. Jiraiya looked shocked and proud, as if he had defeated the Nine Tails. Jiraiya, who came back to his senses, looked bitter. He thought that Minato was only a little stronger than him, but now it seems that he is more than a little stronger. He is simply ridiculous. On the other side, Minato saw that the day was almost over, so he walked into the kitchen to take out the dinner he made today, expecting Jiraiya and his adopted son to come back soon. At this time, a knock on the door sounded, clang clang clang. Minato was a little confused when he heard it, but he still walked to the door and opened it. He saw 2 super beauties in his eyes. These 2 people were none other than Rukia and Yuhi Kurenai, who were sent out by Minato to perform the mission. I saw a girl wearing a student uniform and a short skirt, with short black hair and a stupid hair on the top of her head. A pair of bright purple eyes looked at Minato Namikaze with love. Minato Namikaze was a little confused when he saw this scene. The other one has a curvy figure, with a big white rabbit on her chest that is about to come out, and white and slender legs. In Minato's opinion, it would be a pity to not ride a tricycle with such long legs. The exquisite and beautiful face is simple, as if it is in heat. Seeing this scene, Minato is completely confused. What the hell is going on? Then Minato suddenly remembered that he met Jiraiya this morning and got the reward for signing in with Jiraiya. That special skill, friend of women. The wearer is 50% more attractive to women between the ages of 15 and 40. Thinking of this, Minato slapped his head and said. Then Minato sat on the sofa in the living room, with both arms held by the 2 women. Seeing this, Minato felt a little helpless. Looking at Yuhi Kurenai holding his arms, he couldn't help but complain in his heart, Asuma just died yesterday. You are like this now, Rukia holding my arms is fine. But what is your appearance? Minato looked at the two beauties holding his arms and said helplessly, you two are holding me like this, are you afraid that I will run away? The food in the kitchen is almost cold. At this moment, the door of the room was pushed open directly from the outside. Everyone was stunned when they saw this scene. Jiraiya, who was standing by, saw Minato being held by two beauties, and his eyes were red with envy. What the hell is this? Why are his disciples being held by two beauties like this? At this time, it was Uzumaki Naruto who broke the awkward atmosphere. When will Dad eat? The training volume today is a bit heavy, and I am a little hungry. Minato was a little stunned when he heard this, and then he reacted. This is his good son, helping him out. So he quickly pulled his arms out of the arms of the two women. The two women came back to their senses when they saw this scene. Thinking that they had just held Minato's arms, they were suddenly a little shy. For some reason, Rukia felt that Minato was particularly handsome today and wanted to get close to him. Although Minato was also handsome before, Rukia felt that he was not so handsome that she lost control. Kurenai Yuhi, who was standing by, came to her senses and remembered that she was so bold just now and dared to hug Minato's arm directly. She felt her face getting hot and immediately said to Minato, sorry, Lord Hokage, you can ask Rukia about the mission. I have something to do, so I left first. After saying that, I ran out of the door and disappeared without waiting for everyone's reaction. Seeing this scene, Minato shook his head helplessly, knowing that Kurenai Yuhi was embarrassed. He thought to himself, the lethality of the skill of women's friend is really great. Remember that I have not met Kurenai Yuhi many times since I was resurrected. Although this body of mine looks very handsome, it is not possible that Kurenai Yuhi, who has only met a few times and has not even spoken to a few words, would fall in love with me. Minato thought that he did not have such great charm. If it was not this problem, it should be the skill of the friend of women that he had obtained. However, Minato was a little strange and turned to look at Rukia, who looked shy. In his heart, he complained. Although he would watch the anime Naruto most of the time when he had free time in his previous life, he would sometimes watch Bleach and Dragon Ball. I remember that in the original work of the Bleach anime, Rukia was already over 90 years old when she first appeared. Although this age is the age for ordinary people to be buried in peace, in the world of Bleach, over 90 is just like a teenager. Haven't you seen the captain of the 4th division in the anime Bleach, Unohana Retsu? He has lived for thousands of years, and now he still looks young and youthful. But what Minato found strange was that the friend of women was only attractive to women between the ages of 40 and 15. But Rukia's state was not right either. Minato thought for a while, but couldn't figure it out, so he simply stopped thinking about it. Rukia also came back to her senses from her shyness just now, and hurried into the kitchen and brought the food made by Minato to the table. Jiraiya on the side looked at Rukia's back and was a little surprised, so he took Minato's shoulder and came to the side and said, Minato, you kid can actually play the golden house and hide a beauty, it can be seen that this girl is pretty good. You two haven't taken the last step yet. Minato was a little speechless when he heard this, so he said, of course not, what kind of person do you think I am? Unless it's something you and I are willing to do, you can't force others. Hearing Minato say this, Jiraiya also curled his lips and said, that's true. Dad, Uncle Jiraiya. Hearing Naruto call Uncle Jiraiya, Minato was a little amused and said inwardly, you kid is amazing. You directly gave yourself a super generation. At this time, Rukia on the side also came out with the prepared food and sat on the sofa. Looking at the three people with curiosity, Jiraiya said with a frown, how many times have I told you not to call me uncle, but I am your father's teacher? Who knew that Naruto would pout and say, what's the big deal? Let's talk about our own things. I call you uncle and my father calls you teacher, isn't that enough? Minato saw Naruto saying this. The look he gave Naruto was a little wrong. Is this really his silly son who shouted, I want to become Hokage, all day? Then Minato had a bad guess in his heart. Could his son be a time traveler? Otherwise, according to the original seeing Naruto's saintly character, he might plead for the third Hokage. But in the previous battle, even if he killed the third Hokage, Naruto didn't show any sadness. Then Minato entered the system space and said, System Spirit, come out, and a blonde girl in a blue Lolita princess dress appeared in front of Minato. A pair of white jade-like hands gently rubbed her eyes that had just woken up. The tone was a little soft and sticky. "Host, what do you want to talk to me about?" Minato looked a little solemn when he heard this, and slowly said, "System, are there other travelers in this Naruto world?" The system spirit also realized the seriousness of the matter when he heard this, thought about it for a while, and then looked at Minato seriously and said, "There are no other travelers in this Naruto world, only you." Minato breathed a sigh of relief when he heard this and said, "Thank you, system spirit." The system elf saw that Minato believed in him so easily, unlike his previous host, who insulted him every day as a dog system and a garbage system, and still didn't believe in him. He looked like a gangster. What's more annoying is that he is not a system that will kill the host if the task is not completed. So he untied it in a rage, and by chance, he bound a soul that was floating back and forth. This soul is the current Minato. Just when Minato was about to leave, the voice of the system elf suddenly sounded, "Host, please wait a moment." Minato suddenly paused, turned around and looked at the system elf, a little puzzled, not understanding why the system elf called him, and suddenly the voice of the system elf sounded again. But this time there was a little more trembling in the voice of the system elf, and then the system elf's golden eyes looked at Minato and said, "Host, if one day I want to take away everything from you, what will you do?" Minato was slightly stunned when he heard this, and obviously realized that his system was incredible. After all, how can a system ask the host these questions? Obviously there is a story, but Minato calmed down his thoughts and said, "If you really want to take it away, then take it away. Anyway, all of this is given to me by you. If I am strong enough, I will not let you take everything from me. If not, I will die. After all, I am a dead person. I am already satisfied to be able to live in this way." I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.